Should we go? Welcome to City Council meeting. I don't have a gavel, but you all got quiet so quickly. Thank you. Should I say konnichiwa? Ah, genki desu. We will visit more and hear more from our Ibigawa, Japan delegation in just a few minutes. But welcome everyone today. It's a full house. We would like to begin, if we could, with an invocation, which will be offered by from our St. George Area Interfaith Council, today representing the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Green Valley Stake, Mr. Kyle Paisley. So if we could have, there you are, Kyle, if you'd come forward, and then after that we'll do our Pledge of Allegiance. I'll say more about that when we're ready. Thank you, Kyle.
Yep. Our Father, who art in heaven, we bow our heads before thee at this time to give thee our thanks and our gratitude for this beautiful city and this beautiful area within which we live. We pray for thy invocation to be upon these proceedings this night. We pray for thy Spirit to be here in abundance. We ask that thou would bless those who participate. We pray that for those who are our elected officials, we pray that they may have discernment, wisdom, and guidance given to them. We pray for our citizens in this fair city, that they may have health, tolerance, and prosperity. We pray for city staff, that they may be wise, that they may be deliberate, and that they may be efficient. We pray for those who protect our city, our policemen, our firefighters. Please bless them in the line of duty, that they may be protected, that they may be wise, and bless their families for their great sacrifice. Now, Father, we pray for these things. We ask that thou would watch over this fair city, that thou would help us to grow with wisdom, with empathy, with tolerance, and with love. And we pray for these things, giving unto thee our praise and our gratitude, and do so most humbly, in the name of our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you. Okay. Now, as we do the Pledge of Allegiance, I would like to ask Andrea Deaver, who is the president of the, I don't know what it is called, the Student Teacher Cohort group from Dixie State University. And there are a few of you here tonight. I would like to have you all come forward, and Andrea will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Future teachers, right here. Just tell us what to do, Andrea.
Please stand for the pledge. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We are very excited and happy to be here.
Thank you. So, are you at the same place in your progression towards being teachers, or different places?
We are in the same place. We are in our third semester, and we've been together since our first semester. So we're really good friends now, and we are excited to be here and to get into education.
That's great. Well, thank you, and thanks to Dr. D. Murray for bringing you here. We always love having you come.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for choosing teaching as a profession. Okay, we have several things that are pre-written agenda today, but we're going to take care of, Council, the first item on the written agenda, because we have a number of people here, special guests, especially families of a few of our police officers. So I'm already getting emotional. I'm not really sure why, other than that this is important things that we're doing today. It is our duty, council, to appoint a new police chief. Richard Farnsworth, who has been our deputy chief for 7 or 8 years, and with the police department here in St. George for a total of 25 years, like in the next week, as I recall. And so he will be our new chief if you all appoint him. I hope you will. I think you will. And he'll share some additional news as well in terms of his team. So Chief Farnsworth, would you come forward? And why don't you bring your captains with you as well? And any additional officers or police department employees in the hallway, please come in so we can see you. I know it's full, but we want you here. So, council, first of all, I entertain any comments you'd like to make about Richard Farnsworth, and then I would entertain a motion to appoint him as the next chief of police of the St. George Police Department. Michelle.
Well, I think this was a no-brainer. This was a really easy decision for us when we met with Rich, and I think he's going to take over, and it's going to be a seamless transition, and he's going to be a great leader for the future of our department, and we're very excited that he accepted. And I would be happy to make a motion that we appoint Rich Farnsworth as our new chief of police for St. George.
See how quick that was? Any comments on the motion that was made by Michelle and seconded by Betty? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion to appoint Richard Farnsworth as the next police chief of the St. George City Police Department and St. George City, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
There are none opposed. And Jimmy would vote for you if he were here. Thank you very much. Let's give Chief Farnsworth a hand. So I know that, Chief, I believe Heather's here. Any other family here? Would you stand, Heather, and any of your children that are here? They're not here. They couldn't make it. So, of course, we honor and respect Chief Farnsworth, but we also respect Heather. Heather, thank you for what you do. Okay, Chief, you have some appointments to make.
Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate the vote of confidence, and just will assure all of you that you will get my very best efforts. And I hope to continue the relationship we have, and also the great reputation that all of these great people have helped create over the years. It certainly has come through a lot of work and great people. A few people I would like to recognize. Former Captain Kyle Whitehead, I've selected him to be my deputy chief.
Good choice.
And our newest captain over here as of this week, former Lieutenant, now Captain Curtis Sprague. And then, of course, those of us who know the process know that when Chief Stratton retired, all of us that were appointed rank went to the rank of captain, or from captains, deputy chief, to the rank of lieutenant. And in my mind, that lasted about 3 seconds because we have great people. On the end, Cindy Flowers is our dispatch manager, an appointed position. Captain Giles, our administrative captain, who gets all the jobs none of the rest of us want, does a great job with them. On the far end, Captain Staley, who has has done just a stellar job with our investigation division, and especially the last couple of years. What a trying job they've had the last bit. Of course, it's no surprise to any of you. He's just done an outstanding job. So he will remain in investigation. And playing linebacker, you see he's number 13 in your program. He's certainly number 1 in your hearts over special enforcement. Captain McCracken.
Thank you.
And we won't take any more time, but this is what a stellar group of individuals. Yeah, I'm honored to stand here with them, and we're going to do great things.
Thank you, Chief. Could we have all of these officers or captains, manager, deputy chief, chief, your families, would you all stand? I know there are some here. Would you stand so we can recognize you? There's some. There's some. So I just want you to know, family members, how much we appreciate these men and women in our police department. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. We support you 100%, and we will always do that. Thank you.
Mayor, if
Yes.
I could,
Yes.
just briefly,
Yeah.
I just wanted to echo my support. The 7 of you certainly represent the very best of the city of St. George. We are grateful for your service. We know that for each one of you, and of course all of the officers who serve with you, there are long nights, many hours away from your families, doing a very hard job. Again, we support you. We are grateful for your service and look forward to our ongoing relationship here at the city. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Adam.
Mayor, these men that have just appeared before us really represent the finest that we have. I couldn't help but notice the hairstyle that our city manager and our city attorney has, how well it blends in with these fine-ranking men that were just here. They all look just beautiful.
Very good. Thanks, Ed. All right. So let's see. Next, in that we have the 42nd running of the St. George Marathon coming up on Saturday, and we also have the I don't know how many it's been, over 30 Mayor's Walk events. 32. Oh, very good. I'd like to invite Jimmy Keston and any others from the St. George Exchange Club forward to talk about the Mayor's Walk. Jimmy.
That is a tough act to follow.
Yeah, it is.
I'm used to going first around here. Well, Mayor, it is a great privilege to be with you today on behalf of the St. George Exchange Club and the things that the Exchange Club does in this community, the Mayor's Walk being one of them. Of course, it is just part of what we do for and through this city, including the Southern Utah Performing Arts Festival, including the Give a Kid a Flag during the Veterans Day, the Freedom Shrines in our schools and at the airport. So many projects that we are involved in to promote Americanism and patriotism and community service as America's service club. And it's been our privilege to be the ones who put on the Mayor's Walk and walk with you this Saturday morning. We'd love to present you with your shirt and run number, and also Mayor Tomita.
Mayor Tomita, yes.
From,
Let's have him come
Ibigawa.
forward.
If he would, we'd love to present both of you with your shirts and your run numbers. Hey, Sean.
Mayor, thank you.
That would be you. Mayor, this is yours. And You are both number one.
Awesome. Number one. Okay, we got to turn which way?
Yeah, show the shirt.
Okay, now look this way for a minute. Yeah. There we go. Wait just a minute. There we go. We have the whole Ibigawa press here.
Yeah.
And that really is him right there.
Thanks. So we will be walking, Your Honors, we'll be walking starting at precisely 7 a.m. this Saturday. For those who haven't yet registered for the Mayor's Walk, there's still time to do so. We will be at the Marathon Expo all day tomorrow, and you can even register the morning of the walk. We start at 6 a.m. and need to finish registration by 6:45 so that everyone can take off with you at 7 a.m. We will finish at the marathon finish line. We've got some outstanding prizes drawings that will be going on, and we're so excited for all of our sponsors that help put this on, and we are excited to once again be joining you on this Mayor's Walk. The Exchange Club has another announcement. We might want Shane come up from
McAfee
Parks and Recreation,
Yeah.
and I'd like to introduce this year's president for the St. George Exchange Club, Mindy Sutner, who has an announcement that the club just approved this week.
Thank you.
First of all, excited to be here, Mayor, but I'd also like to invite not just you and your family, but all of the City Council and your families, and everybody present and your families to join you in the Mayor's Walk Saturday morning. Like Jimmy said, there is time to still sign up.
Well, they all have shirts, and I can see that they're all number one.
Everybody's number one.
Yeah.
No respecter of persons.
That's right.
So we want to invite everybody out. It's a great time. We do have some great prizes. Jimmy didn't mention this, but Bar and Rain, State Bank of Southern Utah is going to bring their money tube, and 3 lucky people will get to draw out and grab all the cash they can. So we're going to do some fun things, the scone breakfast.
They'll get to do it, rain or shine, whether or not they get to do it on the finish line.
This is, yes, very good. The announcement we want to make, the Exchange Club has been a friend to the city for many years. We've been involved in many city projects, the last one being Thunder Junction. We partnered on that. This week we met, the club decided and the foundation approved the next project that we want to partner on. And we decided that, I think the weather kind of prodded us a little bit on this. We've decided that we want to partner on a pavilion in the Vernon Worthen Park in the southwest corner where the Mayor's Walk ends, and we have the scone breakfast. Then rain or shine, we don't have to worry. So we just wanted to announce that to you. And
What do you think about that, Council? I love it too. Thank you very much. That's wonderful.
so we'll get busy and see if we can't make that happen before next year, and then it won't matter if it rains.
Thank you so much, Mindy, and all those in the Exchange Club. Thank you so much. We've appreciated, as Jimmy mentioned, we've had a long-standing relationship with the Exchange Club, and there have been many tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands even of dollars, especially to the All Abilities Park just by itself. It was over 100,000 as I recall. So we appreciate all that you do as a service club in our community. Thank you all. Okay, well, now we again are so pleased to have all those who are here from the Ibigawa, Japan delegation. We have had a sister city relationship. Michael, do you want to come up, join me for a minute? Come be Jimmy Hughes for a minute. We have enjoyed a relationship with Ibigawa for 30 years now.
今回、揖斐川の方から の発見団がセントジョージに訪れていて本当に感謝しております。この長いリレーションシップ、その友好リレーションシップがありまして幸いと心より思っています。
So many friendships have been made over those 30 years since Mayor Carl Brooks started this relationship.
このセントジョージと揖斐川の関係はもう30年前に始まりまして、その時の市長はwhat was his first name? Carl Brooks さんが市長になりました。
Mayor Tomita, I am not sure who the mayor of Ibigawa was 30 years ago.
30年前には揖斐川の町長は誰でしたでしょうか。富田町長は覚えてます？覚えてます。宗宮次郎。
Very nice. So here we are after 30 years, and we are still here, and there are so many friendships that have been made, people who have gone back and forth several times and stayed in each other's homes, and new people are brought into that family every year.
もうこの30年の間にもういろんな交換をしておりますけれども、お互いの家に泊まったりとか、このメラさんだけじゃなくていろんなことでこういう友好関係を作れることができまして、本当に素晴らしい関係です。
So I would like to have Shane McAfee come forward and introduce the delegation and just say a little bit about what we'll be doing in the next few days.
じゃあセイン・マカフィーの方からちょっと挨拶を聞きたいと思います。
Actually, I think you've done a fantastic job.
No, I want to hear what you have to say, because he's going to say it in Japanese.
Try to.
Yeah.
So, city manager, council, mayor, I hope I can pronounce some things so they can recognize it somewhat. Ibigawa. Gogo Sento Joji Shigi Kai Yokoso. Watashi tachi wa anata ga kite iwau koto mata wa shimai toshi no yujo no 30 nen omotsu koto ni hijo ni kofun shite imasu.
Okay, who's going to translate into English?
Well, so far I basically said good afternoon and welcome. We're excited to have you here. 30 years. Sentojoji Shigikai To Marason O Dai Hayo Shaite Sentojoji E Yokoso. Ibigawa, Japan. No Dai Hayo Shakara Jon Paiku. Shichu Tosento Joji Shigikai Nigo Shokai Shimasu. So, Mayor.
Arigato. So, I would like to just, I'll come down and formally welcome Mayor Tomita to the microphone, and I'd like him to share a few words.
Good afternoon. I am Kazuhiro Tomita, the mayor of Ibigawa town in Japan. It's a great honor to meet you all. 今年は派遣団30周年を記念して20名お邪魔をいたしました。今日は筑紫州立大学や筑紫展望台などを訪れて先ほどまで市内を見学しており興奮が 冷めやらぬままに市議会に到着をいたしました。
GA.
This is our 30th anniversary of marathon exchange between St. George City and Ibigawa. We toured St. George City today.
昨夜はセントジョージ市に到着したばかりですが、ホストファミリーやパイク市長さんをはじめ、市の皆様の歓待を受け、大変充実をして過ごしております。
Actually, we just arrived St. George last night. We appreciate the warm welcome we had by the people of St. George and our host families.
市議会の皆様におかれましては、日頃から市政運営にご尽力をされていること、心より敬意を表します。今回、セントジョージマラソンと揖斐川マラソン交流30周年を記念をして派遣団は、揖斐川町の議会から成瀬議長、大西副議長が訪問しております。
Because of this year is the 30th anniversary, that's why there are Mr. Naruse, chairman of our town council, and Ms. Onishi, vice chairman of our town council.
またセントジョージマラソンの運営や受け入れについて学び、さらなる友好を深めるために、揖斐川マラソンの運営に携わっている西濃陸上競技協会と揖斐川町でのホストファミリーも訪問しております。
In additional, 4 members of Track and Field Association and some volunteer host families.
土曜日のセントジョージマラソンには、昨年の揖斐川マラソンでの成績優秀者が参加いたします。
And of course, our excellent forerunners join this Saturday.
Please, yes. Let's give all those who have stood so far a hand.
派遣団のメンバーはマラソンやメイヤーズウォークに参加し、広大な自然の中のマラソンコースを楽しみ、市民の皆さんとの友好を深めたいと思っております。
We are looking forward to join St. George's Marathon and Mayor's Walk on Saturday.
本日は市議会の場にお招きをいただき、ありがとうございました。セントジョージ市のますますのご発展をお祈りをいたします。
Thank you very much for taking time to meet with us today.
Thank you very much.
ありがとう。So, could we have all of the members, I believe there are around 20 of the Ibigawa delegation, come forward so we can, yes, we like to take a picture, and I want to give you a St. George pin. So line up. Yeah, line up right along here. Thank you. Thank you. Hey, Jimmy, come down and help me. You speak Japanese.
Yeah.
Mayor.
Thank you.
STG, St. George. Thank you.
welcome.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Kawa? Okay.
Stand here with you, Mayor. Yeah. Okay. All right. City Council, the rest of you, will you come down, kind of come around the back? By Keiko, right here. Stand by Keiko. Oh, you're there. Good. Yep. Come on over, Adam. All right. Try again.
Right.
3, 2, 1.
Cheese.
Again. 3, 2, 1.
Cheese.
Thank you.
I thought we'd do 1, 2, 3. Ichi, ni, san. Huh? Okay. We good? Arigato gozaimasu. Okay. Oh, thank you. Arigato. Thank you. Okay. We have so much fun with this exchange. Just for those of you in the public that don't understand the full deal here, the winners of the St. George Marathon, their prize is they get to go and run the Ibigawa Marathon. That is their prize. And vice versa. Their winners come and run our marathon. And then in addition, we have a student exchange, at least, right, Michael? We have several during the year, and that goes now to the university level. And Michael's had a lot to do with that, Michael Thompson and Patrick Gass and others. It's just become a wonderful tradition. Do you want to try to summarize that for the Japanese folks?
Okay, so we have here Mr. Yasutaka Makino has a Olympic pin for the 2020 Olympic pin. Probably you're going to be the only one who gets one here in this area.
Wow.
From him that he'd like to present to you. Thank you.
That's wonderful. So, council, let's see, Betty, you went last year. Jimmy, you went the year before, or three years. I'm going to go this year, next month. And what's amazing is I got the chance, I was asked to go 14 years ago. Michael, I'm going to need your help to summarize again. 14 years ago, Christy and I were asked to go to represent Mayor MacArthur before I was even on the city council. And we stayed with the Nohara family. Keiko and Yoko Nohara are sitting right there. Stand up. So, Yoko was 10 years old. She is now, can I tell, 24. She's graduated from college and she's teaching English in Japan, in Ibigawa. So, and now Christy and I have the pleasure of hosting them in our home this week. Wonderful friendships formed. Scott, would you agree? Scott has hosted Mayor Tomita several times, I believe. 4 times. Ichi, ni, san, chi, go. Okay. 4 years. 4 times that the mayor has been here before he was even the mayor. And so, where's Deb Christopher? Is she here? She has been, I don't know how many times, she and Joe Christopher before his passing to Ibigawa in Japan, and they have hosted and they've been hosted. They're just Kelly Blake. There are a host of people from the school district that have been involved, and it's just incredible friendships over the years. Good luck, Michael. You want to summarize all that? They got it? Okay. All right. I have it on good authority that the Ibigawa delegation went to the police department's shooting range today. And hey, bang, bang. I think that's the highlight every year. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow at the International Luncheon. Betty and Jimmy, if you have any comments.
I just regret that I cannot take you to a public bath the way you took me.
We learn all kinds of things from each other, don't we? Yeah. Jimmy? Jimmy?
It's a tremendous experience, one that you cannot understand until you go do it yourself. I had a tremendously good time over there. It was incredible. The same thing, good friends. The Isakawas, I can't remember the first name, Isakawa. He worked for the city water department, I believe. So it's who I stayed with. Good people. Isokawa. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you. And good luck to the Ibigawa runners on Saturday. And though we won't need it quite as much, good luck to all those who will walk the mayor's walk. We will walk fast because we have to beat the hand crank wheelchairs. Okay, arigato gozaimasu. Thank you for coming. Thank you. What a great tradition. Okay. So folks, I have a proclamation that I'd like to read. I don't know if there is anyone here from the Dove Center. Yes, excellent. Would you come forward? And first, if there's anything you would like to say, any and all of you, and introduce your team, and then I'll do the proclamation.
Okay.
This isn't quite as happy a note,
No,
but we are so glad you're here, and we need these reminders
Yeah.
of what you do and others.
We absolutely thank you, Mayor Pike, and all of the city council members here for recognizing this important month of domestic violence awareness. In the national statistics of things, it's 1 in 4. But unfortunately in Utah, 1 in 3 women will experience domestic violence or intimate partner violence in their lifetime. And I think that not enough people know that. Perhaps even more sobering, since 2000, 42% of adult homicides in Utah were domestic violence related. In 2016, there were 22 domestic violence murders in our state. And in 2017, Utah ended the year with 44 domestic violence-related fatalities. This year, so far, 18 fatalities have ended the year. They've been reported as of August, which is drastically lower, but our goal is always 0 fatalities. As much as we'd like to think about the relatively low crime rate in Utah, domestic violence exceeds the national average, and we've got to figure out how to do better. Dove Center is our local resource for those experiencing domestic violence, and we are taking the entire month to raise awareness about domestic violence, how to identify it, how to get help, and how to help others. One very important date for you to remember during our month of awareness is October 10th. We invite you and plead with you to join us at 6 p.m. for the County Coalition, which will host the annual Candlelight Visual. We can show support to the families affected by these issues and also celebrate hope for survivors and loved ones. The vigil will be held at the corner of 100 South and 1000 East, which is the DSU campus parking lot. Our month-long observance of Domestic Violence Awareness Month includes the Allstate Foundation Purple Purse campaign, which helps to expose how excessive financial control by an abusive partner is a common barrier to leave an abusive relationship. The campaign allows us to raise funds for survivor support, including safe shelter, advocacy, and counseling, and we invite you to participate in the campaign either as a fundraiser or a donor. You can like us on Facebook. Just search Dove Center to find out how you can join us. My name is Shoni Christensen, by the way, and I'm proud to be a trustee, a board member for Dove Center at this time. I'd like to introduce Sharon Hayquam. It's spelled differently. Is the executive secretary for our membership as well. And I'll introduce Lindsay Boyer, who is the executive director of the center, and she will say a few things.
Thank you very much, Shoni.
I just wanted to introduce Nadine Davis from St. George Police Department, who represents the victim advocates from our Systems Advocates partnership that is really instrumental in how we as a community are able to support and serve survivors and those who are at risk. And I'm really excited about our being included in today's meeting when Chief Farnsworth was appointed because of the partnership that we have with St. George Police Department. I hope he's still back there.
He is. He's smiling back there.
We are taken very good care of by our St. George Police Department. When we have an issue or there's a high lethality, high-risk victim situation, we call and they are there in whatever way that they can be. I think the point that I really want to make in regards to the statistics that Shoni shared with you is the state of Utah 3 years ago rolled out a lethality assessment protocol implementation plan, and it's rapidly spread statewide. And St. George Police Department was one of the first agencies chomping at the bit to participate. And we've had a really successful year, and we're moving into our second year now with the police department in strengthening our collaborations. But it's not just that they're doing the lethality assessment protocol with us, it's the way they're doing it that's changing things for people in our community and for the relationships that we all have as community service providers and first responders. And that's a really big deal. As we know, without intervention, domestic violence does lead to, unfortunately, in a lot of cases, homicide and fatalities that can be prevented. So we're really grateful for the strengthening of those partnerships and the reduction in those statistics. And also just a big thank you to you guys, because this year we have 6 other cities that are doing this proclamation with us this month. And you guys started that by leading the way in making this a priority, and that's a big deal. It takes a whole community to do what we do and what it takes to help families. So
it does. Thank you, Lindsay. We appreciate it. Please pass along to your entire team, all of your board and your employees, because I know it's, again, unfortunately, a growing team, and you need all the help I know that you can get. You've had successful galas and fundraisers, but you can always use more in the way of funds as well, I believe. So anything we can do to help, we want to do that.
Thank you.
So,
and education and awareness, I have to pipe in. Just knowing that there's a center here that's here to help, educating our community about that, and having awareness of where they're at.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, let me read this proclamation, and then I'll bring it down to you, and you can display it if you want. And again, I hope that all those who might be here today or watching will keep these things in mind as the effects of this are so devastating. Whereas it is a basic human right to live a life free from violence and abuse, and whereas domestic violence is a serious problem that occurs in all cultures and does not discriminate by age, gender, social class, ethnicity, or sexual orientation. And whereas 1 in 3 women in Utah will experience intimate partner violence in her lifetime. And whereas every year approximately 80 Utah children witness the murder or attempted murder of their mother. And whereas domestic violence related homicides in Utah have accounted for over 40% of homicides statewide for the last 17 years. And whereas it is the role of local governments to provide for the health, safety, and welfare of its citizens, now therefore I, Jonathan T. Pike, Mayor of St. George, Utah, do hereby proclaim October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And I've signed this and affixed our city seal. I'll come present it to you now. And again, as Shoni mentioned, I think awareness and education is the key. So we need to speak up and tell our stories and get the help that is needed. And we have that help, fortunately for us, right here in our community. Thank you. Take a picture? Okay.
One of them works.
Well, thank you. Luckily, you don't have to develop all those pictures. So.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you so much.
Tomorrow?
Tomorrow. Yeah. Thank you.
You know, Mayor, oftentimes we refer to that domestic violence and we think of the women and men that are involved in that, but the impact this has on the children and the care that the Dove Center gives to the children of these victims is just can't be expressed how much they do for them. So it's a far bigger impact on the future of a lot of these children with care and concern they're given by this group.
Yeah, it's a good point. The victims are, seems like the worst of it seems to be against the children, but of course anyone affected by it. Adam, should we get to the rest of our written agenda, and have there been any changes?
It's time. No, there haven't been any changes to the agenda.
Okay. Then should we start with the, I haven't had any comment forms submitted on the comments to the public. This, as you remember, everybody, is for those who have come to express an opinion or ask a question on an item that is not on the agenda or likely to be on the agenda in the near future. And so we allow a few minutes for that on the first Thursday of the month. But seeing as we've had none received, we'll go forward, Adam, with the consent calendar.
Okay, these 7 items are administrative in nature. They've been reviewed by staff. They've been found to conform with all of our requirements and regulations. I would note that for item D, the extension to the purchase and option agreement for Tech Ridge, we have pushed that date to January 31st. We just wanted to give ourselves a little bit more time so that we don't have to, bring it once more. But other than that change, everything stands as it has been provided to you in your packets, and staff would recommend approval.
So, Adam, just to clarify on the Tech Ridge thing, they're able to progress with the things they need to at this point in time?
Absolutely.
So it's just, we want to make sure we get it all right. This is an important document that governs the development of that 150 acre-ish parcel, so we want to get it right.
That's right. And
Appreciate
everything is still on track and moving forward up there.
Got a building that should be going up before too long, in fact.
That's right.
Council, any items on the consent calendar, as Adam has mentioned, that you would want to pull out of the consent calendar to have more or have clarification on? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion to approve all the items on the consent calendar.
Mayor, I'd like to move that we approve all of the items on this consent calendar.
Second. We have a motion by Betty and a second by Joe to approve the consent calendar items. Any discussion on the motion?
Just with the reminder of the correction on the date to January 31st, where it says the 1st on here.
Yes.
Is this supposed to be
31st?
31st,
Yep.
okay. We'll make that note. Any other comments or questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously.
Item 4 is to consider amendments to the budget, and we're going to have Deanna Berklasich come and present those to us.
Right. Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council.
Good afternoon.
We are about 25%. Well, we've just accomplished 25% of our fiscal year. And our departments have submitted budget opening requests to us. Most of the budget openings that we've received are just to roll over projects that they thought would advance further by the end of last fiscal year, but they maybe didn't get as far as they thought they would. So they're just asking to roll those projects over to the fiscal year 19 budget. And we do have a couple of new grants that have come to light subsequent to approving the final budget, and so there's some amendments in that respect. I'll go ahead, there are several, but most of them fall into those categories, so I'll just kind of quickly go through these. The first one is for Sunbrook Golf Course in the amount of $25,000 to replace the current entry sign to the Sunbrook Golf Course and Sunbrook community, and it is deteriorating and needs to be replaced as it is a hazard right now. Number 2 is for airport improvements for the airport rental car lot for $155,400. That's a project that they just didn't get completed at the end of the year, so we're moving those funds forward to this current year. Number 3 is for dispatch center as part of our overall network upgrade through the whole city. They do have their own system, which is housed next to the city's network switches and hardware and so forth. And so we're going to do that at the same time that we're doing the rest of the city's network, and that's $25,000. Number 4 is for controlled substance out in the field drug testing unit that we did have in last year's budget, but we found it for quite a bit cheaper last year, so we held off, and so that's $13,500. Item number 5 is we have agreed to provide police officers to IHC Health Services at their DRMC campus here in St. George, and that contract is being refined right now. But this gives us the ability to go ahead and move forward with some of the equipment that we need to purchase. And so this is a budget opening for 7 months of that contract in anticipation that it will start December 1st of 2018. And the amount on that, well, I don't know if I can add that all together, but it's basically a combination of funding through the contract of $265,000 and then $313,000 that will come to us over the 5-year period of time of the contract will be reimbursed. Item number 6 is for Ledges Interchange Improvement Project, which is 100% funded by UDOT, and it was half completed last fiscal year. We'll complete the rest of it this year at $100,000 this year, and the UDOT will reimburse us for $200,000 over the 2-year period. Number 7 is to again re-budget for the 400 South Underpass project, the pedestrian underpass. We didn't get as far last year that we thought we would, so we've got to increase that budget by a total of $670,000, and that total budget this year will go up to $1.17 million. Number 8 is Public Work Capital Project to do the landscaping portion of the Red Hills, Red Cliffs Drive connection, also known as the Mall Drive Underpass, for $200,000. Number 9 is for the city's participation with the developer of the water park, where we're going to pay for our portion of the roadway, curb, gutter, sidewalk, and so forth, and that's $520,000.
That's the widening of Red Hills Parkway.
Right, okay. Widening of Red Hills Parkway, and that'll be funded partially from street impact fees and partially from transportation impact funds. Number 10, that's probably the biggest budget opening I believe I've done, for $26,600,000. And it is for the airport runway project, and that is funded by a combination of federal grants of $24 million, transfers from other funds, meaning from the PFC fund, it will be, our city match will be funded by $1.8 million from the PFC funds, and then we have a sales tax revenue bond that still has a little bit of money left in it, and it will contribute $634 approximately to that project. And so we do have the city sources to make our match towards that project, and this will actually span across this current fiscal year 2019 and 2020, so we'll come back and put part of that in the 2020 budget. The next one is just to upfit some vehicles for the drug seizure fund. They've leased 4 new vehicles, and so we've just got to pay for the cost to put the equipment on those 4 vehicles. Number 12 is for the RAP tax fund, and this is for the Little Valley soccer field renovations. It was just about complete at the end of last fiscal year, but we held off installing the sod until we had cooler weather, and so we're just rebudgeting for that for this year. Number 13 is again a rebudget for the bicycle skills park in the amount of $258,400, just to get that project completed this year.
And those are coming from RAP tax
those
funds?
12 and 13 are coming from RAP tax funds, from the bonds that we issued back in 2015, so they're fully funded. Number 14 and number 14 is a combination of 3 different projects in the Park Impact Fund. And again, these are projects that did not get completed, and we've just got a little bit further to go with them. The Heliseg Miller Farm, the still building. The Little Valley Phase 6, which is the volleyball courts, for $20,000, and Sunset Park Phase 2 expansion for $574,000. Again, all funded by park impact fees. Number 15 is improvements to prepare the Andrus House for commercial use. We had a presentation, and we need to do some preparations there to make that available for commercial use, and that will be funded by the Economic Development Fund. And then number 16 is for
That's 80,000, is that right?
Correct, that's 80,000. Number 16 is for our CDBG fund. We had the iron pipe replacement project for the water department. They finished that project halfway through, and this year they'll finish 205,000 of that project to get that completed. And the last one is for the Energy Services Department to replace 2 transformers in the total of $630,000 at our Green Valley substation, which has sustained a few lightning strikes, and so we need to go ahead and replace that equipment right now. And I believe that sums them all up.
Thank you, Deanna.
Okay.
Council, any questions? This takes a lot of work to put this together, and appreciate Deanna and department heads for helping to make that happen.
Mayor, I just ask that we shed a little bit more light for the public as far as that item number 5, the police officers being stationed there at the IHC hospital. And the lion's share of that funding is going to be paid by the hospital. Is that?
I believe the agreed upon amount was 85%.
85%
would be paid for by Intermountain Healthcare, and then because there's some public benefit that we believed we could directly subscribe to, felt like it would make sense for us to pay some, especially because we benefit from the police cars and some of the other equipment that can then be used. So, any other comments on that?
No.
I think that is it. It's we're at the point where the hospital asked for this. They came asking for help. We're at a point in our society where we probably need a little bit more professional assistance at places like the emergency room on certain times.
Right, and so the service they'll be rendering, while it may appear to be more towards the hospital, but we'll have access to them to be able to use those officers when necessary.
That's correct.
Any other questions or comments, council? Okay, thank you, Deanna.
Thank you.
And I will open the public hearing at this time for anyone who has come to ask any questions or provide input on this. This does require, because this is what's called a budget opening, it requires a public hearing. So that's why, and you're leaving? No, I'm just, I'm just kidding. You're fine. We know it's not like must-see TV or anything, so yeah, you're fine. You can come and go as you want.
This is much better than school, right?
Careful, the boss is there. See. Are there any comments from the public on this item? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and come back to you, council, for any further discussion or for a motion.
Mayor, I'd make a motion that we approve the resolution to the amendments for the fiscal year 2018-19 budget as articulated.
Second.
I have a motion by Ed with the second by Michelle. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, starting with Betty, please say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously.
Items 5 through 18 are related to land use, and so we're going to ask Ray and Wes to begin handling those for us.
There's the paperwork we get to sign eventually, right? Okay. Ray, welcome.
Thank you. Domo arigato gozaimasu.
Oh, see? He knows how to
Number
speak
5,
the language.
public hearing and consideration of an ordinance changing the zone from R110 to PD8, plan development residential, and also per section 1085 to review a proposed townhome project design, site plan, density, elevations, landscaping, amenities, and parking for a project called Desert Hollow at Desert Canyon. It's on 17.56 acres, and it's at approximately 700 feet west of the Desert Heights residential subdivision. Look like I hit this here. So here is an aerial view. Here's the southern corridor, the Southern Parkway. Here's the main off-ramp, Desert Canyon Parkway. And right in this approximate area is the proposed project, which I'll show. This shows the general plan, which is residential in this area. And it also shows Master Road plan on the general plan, as you're aware, and it shows eventually there will be, from a new interchange, a 90-foot right-of-way coming from the west going east to the site. This shows the zoning map, and this is the land use plan for Desert Canyons, and outlined in red is the area that this project is at. It's a proposed Desert Hollow. It's this kind of a shape configuration right here. And then I've enlarged that. Here you can see a little bit better, and we can refer to it if necessary. This is the 17.17 acres. This is a little hard to read, but it's the chart. What this is showing is that for the entire project, let me move back, for the entire project of Desert Canyons, it shows the calculations, how much is residential zones, how much acreage, mixed use, resort, how much commercial, how much open space. And what I'm pointing at right now is under residential, there's R110. It looks like about 462 acres is revised. 17 acres is taken out of this R110, and 17 acres has been put into PD8. So this increases by 5 to 567. Overall, the entire project doesn't change in acreage or density. It's just moving from the R110 to the PD8. And if you look up here where I'm pointing, the entire project is 6,317 units. So that, with this project tonight, doesn't change. It's, again, moving R110 acreage and PD8.
That's important, Ray. Can you tell me, when you say project, what is the area that we're saying that project consists of?
This is the area for the project Desert Hollow.
Okay, but I mean, for the 6,000 units you're talking about, do you know what that area consists of?
I'll let the applicant kind of address, but it's all of this area here.
Okay. So what you're saying is the density, that chart showing the density overall isn't going to change?
No.
Okay.
This shows a layout of the proposed project. Again, it's kind of shaped like this, like a dog leg here. And in this project here, which I'll mention, is a proposed elementary school. Right where I'm pointing here are future lots here, future road. I drove out and looked around today, and this is has grading work done. There's nothing built here. The existing homes are back at this point. And this is a little bit better image to see. Again, Desert Crossing expansion would be here. Homes on each side of the road to buffer from the existing homes that are over here. Again, this is the project with 126 dwelling units, again on approximately 17 acres.
So Ray, that is essentially 2 rows of homes that have not yet been built, that would be between the backyards of the current residents?
Yes.
Up on the hill?
Yes.
And then the road between the 2 sets of homes. Gotcha.
So it'd be, I hope I answered you correctly, there'll be a row of homes here that will be new, the road, and then a new row of homes here.
Will that second row of homes you are referring to be on that upper level?
Yes.
So then the elevation changes down to the row of right there.
Yes. And I've got a cross-section to show you in a minute, too, that the applicant provided.
Very good.
This shows approximate phasing. They'd start up here at the northern parcel, 38 units, then move down to 49, then move down to 39. This shows typically what they're proposing for the shape of the lots and the units. The units themselves would be on a 33-foot by 50-foot area. And then this is the front, limited common area. The 25-foot basically is the driveway in front. It shows a minimum of 3 feet can be between them. I'll let the applicant talk, but I understand that that's the minimum, and some of them may be 7 feet between them. If you've been out there recently, where the new church building is being built to the east end, there is another project that's called Desert Bluff that's under construction now, and I'm not sure how many units I looked at today. I'd say maybe 8 or 10 that are framed. Similar to this, except these will be wider and I think more distance between them if you've seen the others out there. So this is the product, models A and B. These will have porches in the front of them. The ones that I were just describing by the new church building that's going up do not have that. And each one has a 2-car garage. Close-up view. They will not exceed 35 feet, and as you're aware, we measure to the midpoint of the roof. So height is not a question here. I do have the materials board I'll hand around in just a moment. It's on the table. This shows typical roadway cross-sections, public streets, 45 or 50-foot right-of-way, 50-foot and 60-foot. This is Rim Runner, this is Broken Mesa, and this is interior streets. And this just shows the notification that went out. This is a good view. As you're coming down the southern corridor, coming from Parkway, excuse me, coming from the west, going to the east, you would get off on Desert Canyons, and then as you come up, you make a right turn. This is where they have the rock and the sculptures and such out there, and this is where they're moving earth right now for the commercial area that's been approved. You come up to the roundabout. This says Prickly Pear right now, but this side over here is Broken Mesa, Rock Mesa, and this will be a continuation of Broken Rock Mesa. That road is not in yet. Here is Desert Crossing, existing here. This is the area that's being graded now, and then this is the future Desert Hollow that's proposed tonight with a future school site. And then a little different perspective of that. Again, southern corridor would be here, getting off on Desert Canyons Parkway. There's Desert Edge Drive, Broken Rock, which is Prickly Pear again right now. And again, Desert Hollow project. There is, as you've mentioned, from this purple point down to here, a significant grade. I think it was 42 or 44 foot difference. And in fact, this was just provided by the applicant. This shows Desert Heights, the existing homes. And then you look at grade level here, you go down to what's proposed for Desert Hollow, and they're showing a 44-foot vertical separation. These are the homes that don't exist yet. These are the ones that are under construction and will buffer between the existing homes up here. The colors are basically sight distance. If you're, what it would be like if you're looking over a 6-foot wall, block wall in the back, what you would see is you project your eye level out, and level sight line, and then the sight with the 6-foot wall again. So let me go quickly to the staff report. I think I've covered most everything. You should have received a Washington County School District letter. I think you got that there in support of the school going right here. There were 2 neighbor letters in opposition that you should have received. I did refer you to Desert Bluff, the other project that has 194 units. This one again is 126 that's proposed. The Planning Commission did recommend denial. There was, I think, 5 members present at that meeting. and I've got extensive notes from it. I can kind of answer questions, but generally they were concerned about the location. They felt it should be closer to an intersection, although the applicant did stand up, and he'll probably elaborate that there's some plans for doing interchange 5, which would provide access from the west going to the east to this. I think a lot of people were concerned about it going through the neighborhood. A lot of people were concerned about what their expectations were to get residential lots, but the applicant is proposing that with the height difference and the buffering and no change in the overall master plan of units that is proposed and recommended. The bottom part of the first page staff report, I'm going to whip through this real quick, just states the ordinance and the section of the ordinance that we have to look at when we have an application like this come in. So there's A, land coverage, they can't go over 50%. They haven't, they're at 24%. The lot sizes are 33 feet by 50. Density, they can't exceed the limitations of the general plan, except the city council upon recommendation can approve the density, and the density has been approved for this area, as I try to illustrate in the overall master plan with the units. I'm on page 2 quickly. Setbacks, they appear to meet and exceed the setback requirements. They have to have 25 in the front. They've shown that. And they can go down again as small as 3 foot if they have more than 7 dwelling units per acre, and they're at 7.17, so they could do that. Parking requirements, they have enough parking, meet and exceed parking, if I can find it real quick. Oh, sorry. They'll have a garage, so they have parking spaces for 2 vehicles for each unit times 126. So that's 252, and then they could park in the driveway. That's another 2 spaces times 126 units. That's another 256 spaces. They have provided 20 guest parking spaces. So available, they have 524. So they meet and exceed the requirements is what I was belaboring here. Signs and advertising, they'll just have to comply with the ordinance for the subdivision. Height, they don't exceed the allowable height. Size requirement, each plan development shall contain a minimum 20,000 square feet. This project is 764 at 17.56 acres. Landscaping, they meet and exceed the requirements. So they also, last item I'll mention, recreation area they provided for, they proposed tot lot and grass area. So I think I've covered most everything. I'm available for questions, and also the applicant.
Ray, that elevation levels, for the homes are going to be up top where that school, elementary school, is going to be. There's a drop there, isn't it? And what's the size of that school property going to be? How many acres is that?
I may have to have the applicant answer that. I'll look here real quick in a letter from Washington County, but I
have a letter in front of me. I didn't see the size, but
I don't.
There's also a land dedicated for a park, city park in there.
That's a good point. They have shown on here, and I didn't mention that, a future park is proposed here. And it's also shown at this area. Again, I can let the applicant touch on that. And there's a lot of other open space dedicated to the city here too.
And on a broader scope, there's been consideration for a future fire station that will be needed somewhere in this area that the developer has discussed with the fire department.
I'll have to let the applicant answer that.
Okay.
Any other questions or clarifications needed, council, before we have the applicant address it?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Kurt Gordon with Desert Canyons Development. Thanks for letting us come and visit with you tonight. If you look at the definition of attainable, the dictionary would tell you ability to attain or achievable. And this product that we're introducing to you tonight will be in the category of what we think is an attainable housing price. Right now, the median housing price in St. George is $375,000. The product that we're bringing to the market, somebody who's making, say, $50,000 a year would be able to afford this product. Ray's done a good job of describing the features of the product, but let me just say one other thing. That he mentioned that it's a townhome, and it really is not a townhome. It's a single-family house, so it's not that different from what you see in the neighborhood around it. These are not attached to each other. There's going to be separation between them. There's going to be yards, and the other product that we've have up there in Desert Bluff is very similar. So I think that Ray's done a good job. I really don't have anything else to say other than let me just also point out that we've heard comments that the people who will end up living here are undesirable. We don't think that that's the case. Everybody has had to have a place to start out their lives, and we believe that this will be a good place for young families to live, and again, it's attainable for them. So I would be happy to answer any questions. We sure appreciate would appreciate your support in approving our project tonight.
Council, any questions for Kurt before he sits down?
I have one. If this project was approved, will it be done before Exit 5, or will Exit 5 come first?
We'll start on this project first. Exit 5 will probably begin around the first part of next year. So I think that they would probably actually be starting in the same time frame. It'll probably take us a year and a half to 2 years to complete this project. So it's feasible that the interchange and this project could be done in the same time frame.
Kurt, just for clarification, this big development down there, can you let the public know as to what considerations are being given for a commercial development in there to be able to support some of these families that are going to be in there?
Sure.
Sure. That's being addressed?
Yeah. Actually, we have started construction on a little commercial center right here. We're actually have applied and obtained building permits to build the first building on our commercial center. But this whole area right here is about, I think it's about 10 or 12 acres that will be zoned for commercial and be kind of the center, the town center. We also have a lot of commercial development on the north side of the Southern Parkway that's all zoned for commercial as well.
And that neighborhood park, was that about 4 or 5 acres, or what's the size of that?
It's 4 acres. Yeah, we've donated. I think we've donated more land than that, but that's the size I understand that the park will be.
And the elementary school, how big is that?
It's about 12.5 acres.
That's 12.5
yeah,
acres.
and that'll also have baseball fields, soccer fields right at that facility.
Other questions for Mr. Gordon?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I will open the public hearing at this time for anyone who's come to ask questions or offer input on this item, which is number 5 on our agenda today. And when you come forward, if you'll just state your name at the microphone for the record.
Good evening. My name is Joe Broderick, and I live on the street that we were talking about here, right here.
Gotcha.
So my backyard is literally this project. We have been in the house about a month or 2 now. We did a lot of research before we started to move into this neighborhood. Even calling the developer's office and asking them what was going to be back there, because we knew this was going to be our backyards. This really isn't about not allowing PD8. They have plenty of PD8 zoned already. it is about, you know, and they talk about elevations and views and how the neighborhood is going to be laid out. Well, in my opinion, it's definitely going to change how the neighborhood is going to be and affect me and my family. And I mean, this change has come like seriously months after I asked them directly what is going behind my house before I buy here. And for that reason, I think that they should stick to where PD8 is zoned already to build these units. And I appreciate you guys considering that, and I hope you make the right decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, just to clarify, I think it's been shown that your home does not back up on this project. There will be 2 rows of homes before that. And a road. So we just want to make sure we're clear for the record. Okay.
My name is Tom Ellis, and so do I understand that the lot size is 33 by 50?
I believe so. That sound right, Ray?
So that's 1,650 square feet for a lot.
Yeah,
that's the pad. Yeah.
That's for the house.
That's just a house.
Okay, so how big is the lot?
It's like 100 feet deep, and we got 40.
So about 3,500 square feet?
95 feet deep by about 40 feet wide.
Yeah, so
do the math.
That's small. I looked at the Desert Bluff townhomes that he's talking about. He may not call them townhomes, but when you look at them, that's what they look like. And when you look out the side window of the house, and then the side window is almost within reach, that's awfully close. And I strongly support the Planning Commission's denial on this project. And I don't know how it wouldn't increase the density if you're taking a 10,000 square foot minimum down to roughly 3,500 square feet. I just recently moved from Seattle about a month ago, and that's one thing that I liked about this area was that it was, you know, it was a distance away from town. It's quiet. He talks about the services. Well, the current plant or site that they have signed there now says it's going to be the little commercial area. Doesn't look very big. It's going to be for drinks, coffee, and a restaurant. That's not providing services. That if you're talking about services for these homes, that would be grocery stores, gas stations, not someplace where you get a cup of coffee.
Well, there's neighborhood commercial and then there's bigger commercial. So this was designed to be neighborhood commercial.
Okay. Anyway, when I moved from the Seattle area, they, you know, we lived about 18 miles east of Seattle, and they had these same type of configurations, you know, where they're townhomes, and most of those had garages on the backside, you know, and they had alley access. So they were a little bit more pleasing than what these are. But still, it's very high density in a small area. Out in that area, it's very open, and I don't know why you would need to decrease the size of the lots. Even at a 10,000 square foot lot with the 8-foot and 10-foot side setbacks, you're still pretty close to a home. And by decreasing it to, you know, between 3 and 7 feet, you know, my arm span's 3 feet. That's awfully close. Anyway, again, I just fully support the Planning Commission's for denial of that increase in the density.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Tom.
Good evening. Do you say your name or anything? It's my first time here.
Yes,
Okay.
please. State your name.
My name is Brandon Staples. And
Brandon?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm a local mortgage lender in town, and thought I would share some data. Some, as a lender, we look at our CRM, Client Relationship Manager. What is it that we are financing on a daily basis, and how are we helping our lower income buyers? And the big scare right now in the industry with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac when we sell their loans to them is, why aren't we getting anything under 250? Where's all the homes under 250? And unfortunately, it's a scarcity issue. There isn't much in that market. And what they're coming out with now are a lot more programs to say 3% down for this and 2.5% down for that, as I'm sure Joe can attest to. And what I wanted to share with today is I went through that CRM and realized that out of the pre-approved buyers that we have right now at our mortgage company, we have about 80 that are pre-approved and actively looking for homes. 30 of them are pre-approved under 250. The average buyer right now that gets pre-approved with the lender finds a home within 5 to 10 days. Our average pre-approved buyer under 250 has been there for 2 months. And so we have a major concern that communities don't have enough product for people who, A, have maintained their credit and prepared themselves for home ownership, but unfortunately their income has not allowed them to qualify for what's out there. I purchased my first home in 2011 for $86,000. Doesn't happen anymore. And so mostly just wanted to share that I know it's hard when you see, oh, this is a house that maybe costs less than mine, but from a lender perspective, and again, I have no ties to the developer. The developer doesn't even know who I am. But I would say this is a product that is needed, and I would definitely support it from a data standpoint. So.
Thank you, Brandon. Other comments?
To that point, Kurt, that price range that this young man just mentioned, those homes that you have planned and building in there now, I understand that, have they all been sold already, even before they're finished? Or
well,
how's the market?
No, there's 194 in Desert Bluff. I think that we've started, I think we have 11 framed. I'm not sure how many sales we have. Bunny could speak to that. She's with Salisbury Homes.
So we have right now.
Please state your name.
Sorry, Bunny Sky, and I'm with Salisbury Homes. Right now we have 11 that are framed, and we have pulled, I want to say, 23 permits. We have another 20-something in with the city. And our plan is to make this an easy as possible product to offer. So we are predetermined elevations, predetermined interior features packages. So we're trying to make this as nice as possible. It's going to be well maintained, HOA managed. So the project itself is, we're super excited about it because it is probably going to be like well maintained throughout the entire project, like maybe better than some of the homes that we've personally sold in there that sit up above that are not HOA maintained. So we're trying to make it as nice as possible and keep it that way. So do you have any questions for me regarding those units that are currently there? Okay.
Thank you. Other comments?
Hi, Michelle Anderson, local realtor for the last 18 years and a resident of Desert Canyons. I've also sold some that are close proximity that are in the $500,000 range. And I think one of the things that the Zoning and Planning Commission brought up in their denial was a buffer zone. That in a good city planning management, there is a buffer zone. Right now, one row of homes is not a good buffer zone for $500,000 homes.
2 rows of homes.
2 rows of
and
homes
a street.
is not a substantial buffer zone. I'm all for low-income housing. I have working children that are poor here that can't afford to buy homes. So yes, we need product. We currently have Broken Mesa. They were showing as a completed road. It is not. No work had been started on it until the rejection by the city and planning. That is still blocked off. We've had no notice that that road will go through. So one of the issues was access to this project is all going to go through Rim Runner, which is a residential street where the home values, with mostly families because they're large homes, children playing in the street, that added traffic. Most of those homes are from $350,000 to $750,000 homes where all this traffic is going to go through. It would be nice if we found out that Broken Mesa was going to be done next week or before the start of this project. If we look at the current project, I again love lower based. A lot of clients can't afford. What the mortgage lender failed to also mention is when you have this product in an HOA, it decreases the buying power of the client. That's a fact. So if you have a $80, $150 HOA fee, no longer can you qualify for a $250,000 home. You can qualify, and I'm not a mortgage lender, Joe maybe could help me, but then your buying power is now about 220, 210. I just put one of these products under contract. The wife is a employee of Washington County School District. The husband is a veteran and also a active duty police officer. It would be nice, and no criticism here, but I said, is there any discount for school teachers, police officers, veterans, restriction on investor purchase? And there were none. So investors can come in, they can all be used as rentals. There's no teacher benefits, there's no police officer benefits, no veteran benefits. That's sad. In addition to that, the compensation for realtors is less than half what you would standard get from the industry. So it's a product that's needed. This is necessarily the right place for it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I wanted to just address a couple things. So we're not right now currently offering it to investors. If there is a buyer who wants to purchase it, say for a family member to live in, that's something that is different. And the reason we're offering discounted, or I should say, we're offering half of the commission is because we're trying to make this product affordable, which is tough on the builder. So everybody is taking less, including the builder, the mortgage lender, the realtors. We're asking them to take less so we can actually offer this product and make it as nice as possible. The product, the homes that sit above, those people actually paid way less than what this, as she said, low income. It is not low income. It is affordable housing right now, but it is not low income. The people above, they were in the low 200s. We're in the mid, like 200s right now starting this project. So in order for us to do that, everybody needs to take less, and St. George needs this product.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name's Nick Higginson. I live on the corner of Ostruck and Rim Runner, which is Ostruck's the one where all the houses are built next to your buffer zone. So I think a lot of people that live in the Desert Heights and on Rim Runner almost feel like a little bit of a bait and switch going on, because you look at a master plan and you feel like that is what the plan's going to be. And I get that zone changes are going to happen, things are going to need to be moved around, but when you look at a community that has been master planned, that you think that that's how it's going to continue to go. It's not to where the whole neighborhood was zoned R110 and they've had to change it as they go along. Like, this was master planned from the beginning. And I think one of the things the developer brought up during the Planning Commission meeting is that the first area in Desert Edge and Desert Crest was zoned PD8, but they put like R1-8 size lots in a lot of that area. So they're kind of trying to trade some of that area. But I think the problem is if they would have started with the PD8 in that area, they would have had a lot less people wanting to move out there to begin with. It would have been a lot harder sell to build that community up. And now you've got all these families that have moved out here with a little bit of an expectation based on the master plan, and now that's getting flipped on us a little bit. I definitely understand that this product is very heavily needed in St. George. And I think where the struggle comes from is St. George is very unique in that lower product, because that lower product gets bought up a ton by investors. And so the families that need that product, the investors are part of the ones that are helping bring that value up, because we have a lot of second homes, we have a lot of investors for rentals, because St. George is a destination place. People love to come here. And so that market is hard for those lower income families. And I definitely understand that. I definitely feel that we need more of that product. And I don't have a problem with that product in the neighborhood, but my problem comes in that we had a little bit of an expectation, and I kind of feel like we should have been a little bit farther ahead of the game to have a little bit more of a buffer zone. I get, like, we keep talking about this buffer zone and the vertical elevation, but the vertical elevation doesn't do as much to me as what the horizontal elevation or horizontal distance does. And I'm basically gonna have 3 houses between me and this new development. And I know we've had a lot of unsavory comments and letters that have come in from people in the neighborhood, and I kind of disagree with that, because there's not bad people that buy this product. So that's not the issue. I think that the issue is with the master plan, there was an expectation going forward, and that's why I bought where I bought, because I had an expectation of how it was going to grow out. Another thing is this development is right in the middle of exit 5 and exit 6. It's not closer to exit 5, it's not closer to exit 6, it's right in the middle. And I feel like if we could move this even just a little bit farther to the west to be closer to exit 5, I feel like it could be better. So I'm kind of hoping that we go with the Planning Commission's recommendation for denial, and that's about all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe take a couple more comments and then we'll close the public hearing.
Good evening. Tommy Rupp. Just wanted to point out some statistical figures due to the growth of St. George. Essentially, the job market is increasing, or has increased 4.1% just over the last year. You have a future job growth of about 43.8%, and that's in the next 10 years. So, in order to complement your market, you're catering to both, or 2 types of essential buyers here. One that I don't think that should be forgotten, especially given the comments of certain associations being undesirable people. Not only do we have newfound education with the recent conversion of the university, we also have a large healthcare program now with the new hospital. We also have the tech college that's going in as well. So at some point, growth has to be accepted to a certain degree. The second market that I want to speak to is we also have a large retirement community in here as well. And though an HOA may put some buyers out of a certain amount of buying power, what it does do is it helps borrowers or people who can't maintain their homes, whether that's due to physical abilities, age, etc. I think that just essentially, it caters to enough of your economic market and enough to your growth that almost all economic platforms of all the citizens in Washington County are supported. So, thank you.
Thank you, Tommy. One more and we'll be good.
One thing that I noticed, or at least
State your name if you would.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Michelle Christensen. I'm in the Desert Heights
Okay.
area, and I'm right on the drop down. My backyard is right on the drop down.
Okay.
Where that small buffer zone is going to be. I too, when I purchased my property, I understood that it would be more homes like mine. And I also thought that there was going to be a park behind us, which there isn't now. But my understanding, part of the reason why the City Planning Commission wasn't approving this was because there was already zoning, and I don't have the map up right now, but there was already that PD, is it PD 8? Is that what it is? Zoning above. And now they're just trying to leak it down in. They're not taking that and moving some R10 up there. I don't know how it couldn't be higher density when the homes that we were originally thinking about, I think were about 60 homes back there, and they're thinking about doubling that. So it's going to be double. Another thing that I'm worried about is if the school is going to be right there next to high density homes, there's going to be a lot more traffic too, with children moving around and running around, not watching where they're going. I used to live, I'm all for lower priced homes. If I could have bought my home for a lot cheaper, I totally would have. I think we all would have. But I just moved from a similar situation where the homes weren't like townhomes. They were individual units, but they were very small. They were actually a little bit more distanced apart. You literally can reach out and touch someone else's arm if you were both reaching out of the window on some of these homes that they're going to be similar to. They are that close. But when I was in that area, when I was living there, it was right by Pineview High School. And kids were running all over all the time, which is great. But they were running in the streets because there was not a lot of property to be running on. And that scared me as I was driving through the neighborhood. That made me worried. And then also Pineview High School was right there, but they didn't go play there. They played right around their homes. It was a problem. And then also another thing that I noticed is that most of the homes in there, the smaller homes, were owned by investors, property management companies. A property management company managed my property, and every time we were great renters, paid our rent on time, no problems, no complaints, they would raise the rents, and we constantly had turnover in that neighborhood, constantly. I don't know if it was because people were violating their rental agreements and not paying on time. I have no idea, but it seemed to be a constant, perpetual, new people moving in, people moving out. And also as a renter, you don't have that vested interest in the property that you're living in. I mean, it's not yours. It's just, I own a rental up in Salt Lake, and it's a problem because renters don't care. So I'm a little bit worried about that. We don't have any grocery store right next to us. We don't have a gas station. I know that we're getting some restaurants right there in the area, but that's not quite the same as a grocery store or a gas station. And I'm also worried about the value of my home being diminished. And I don't know, I don't pretend to be a real estate agent or a mortgage broker or anything like that. I'm worried about the value of my property going down because of the high density. I think it's needed, but I think that the area that they've already zoned it for is sufficient. They've already got that there. They're just leaking it down. And I understand that they have, everyone has an interest in making sure that we're able to change and grow with the needs of the city and the residents of the city. But I think that those needs are already being met by the way in which it's already zoned. It's already zoned there. They're just leaking it down, like I said. Let's see. And then as far as, I don't know, are these places going to have backyards? Is it open yards? I mean, I don't really know if I could get some answers on that. But I would agree that it needs to be closer to probably exit 5 or maybe towards Desert Colors, I think, is where they're now building a lot more. I think the plan is to have like more restaurants and things like over there by the I-15 interchange in the Southern Parkway. So, and then if they don't, I guess, are they going to continue, another question is that, are they going to continue, even if they're leaking it down, that PD8, I think that's what it's called, I'm sorry, is that what it's called? If they're bringing that down, are they going to be keeping all the previously zoned areas in PD8 so that we actually have more higher density in total? They say that they're not, but to me, I don't know how that's possible.
We'll ask the applicant to clarify that.
Okay, and then I think that was kind of my main question: what the backyards are going to look like, front yards. And then also, what was the other question? I'm sorry, I lost my thought. What you were going to do with, if you were going to be replacing it.
Speak into the microphone, if you will. We'll have.
If they'd be replacing and changing the zoning for some of that PD8 to make up for it.
Okay. Thank you.
Mayor, to answer her question, there's limited common area which will be dedicated exclusively to each unit behind the unit, so they'll have a backyard, but then there's also common area that are between the units that the HOA takes care of. Did I get all your questions? Let's see, what else did you ask?
The other one was the PD8.
Oh, yeah, the PD8 zones that are currently zoned that way will remain there for the time being. Of course, we, as developers, we respond to the market forces. If at the time we go to develop that and there's not a demand for that, then we probably will do just like we've done when we started the project and build some other product that the market will accept.
At the R110, how many units could you put in there?
We could put, I think, 70 units there.
And this is proposing, I believe, is 126.
126. Yeah.
Bear with me.
Yeah.
Those lots, what would they go for, roughly?
A lot?
For the R110?
Oh, an R110.
100?
Retail.
If I went to buy a lot, what am I going to pay?
I think you would probably be at around 120 to 150,000, depending on what lot it is.
I know that's what the ones behind me are going for.
Yeah.
R110.
Yeah.
Behind my half-acre lot. Right. Who would do that? I'm teasing you, Kurt.
I wouldn't.
What I'm getting
high
at,
density is
what
different.
I'm getting at is, I've heard a few comments, not tonight, but that you're going to make a whole lot more money doing this than you would R110. I'm sitting here doing a little bit of math based on what you have to get out of each one of those little lots and what you could get out of an R110. I don't think you're going to make a whole lot of money if that's your intention.
Yeah, I think that it's probably sixes.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to come to terms here with. I mean, this is an age-old question that we've had in St. George since the day I was born. Is, what I had over there I really liked, and then somebody moved in and changed it. So that's the dilemma we're in here, and trying to decide what goes where and who goes where. And that's a blank slate out there. And if I guess I'd like to say, if you live out there, you better be ready for change. because you're kind of way out there, and there's a lot of things that are going to happen, and there's going to be a lot of growth. When I was born here, there were 7,500 people in St. George, roughly.
That was 30 years ago, right?
Yeah, 26.
Well,
but go ahead, Kurt.
I just a comment. I get, you know, we've all, I think that everybody agrees that I've heard, agrees that there needs to be some kind of attainable housing. And my question, if it's not here, I mean, we're at the Arizona border. If it's not here, where do we put it? I mean, do we put it downtown? I don't think that there's really room to do that here. So that's my question. If not here, where do we put it?
You're obviously going to sell some other R110s around this, and so if the theory holds true that this is a detriment to that, I mean, you're going to have a hard time selling those R110s. Do you believe that?
No, I think that they're probably already all sold.
Even with knowing this is going to go in, or potentially could go in.
This development here, yep, we've got buyers for. In fact, yeah, we've got buyers for it.
Okay.
Any other clarifications?
Mayor, could I ask staff a question?
Well, let's stick with Kurt
I
for
think
just a
that,
minute.
just to clarify, we will have 7, even though the ordinance allows us to do 3 feet, we're sticking at 7, just like you've seen the other product. This is a medium density in the city's, how the city thinks about the densities. This is a medium density product. And I just remind you that we do have 10 miles of trail systems, hiking, mountain biking, that people can utilize, and this project will also have its own internal recreation area, and it's close to a future city park. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing.
I'd like to jump in.
Okay, after you, I'm closing the public hearing.
My name's Tom Hayes. Thank you, Mayor.
Tom,
basically,
could you speak into the mic?
Sure. Basically, my name's Tom Hayes, and I'm a new resident to St. George. Moved here in April after working my entire career in the Chicago area. And the Chicago area is, you know, pretty dense. And one of the reasons I moved to St. George was, you know, it's a friendly community. It really is. It's a beautiful place. You've got retirees, you've got young people, and it's somewhere I wanted to live the rest of my life. And I just bought in Desert Canyons. In fact, my house won't be ready until November, right on Desert Heights. I just found out about this development last week. I ask you, if that change is supposed to happen, shouldn't somebody like me know that a week or 2 months before my house is done? That's the problem I have. I agree with one of the gentlemen earlier. There's a master plan. This was not in the master plan. I expected to see houses of equivalent size and value to my house. And they weren't entry-level homes. They were nicer homes, something I worked 40 to 50 years for. So my position here is, I hope you deny this, because we just put our life savings into this, because we live in St. George, and we didn't want to be in a city. We wanted to be where it was quiet, bigger areas, more space. This development is going against that area, right where we're at. That's what bothers me. That's it. Thank you. Have a good day.
All right, I'm going to close the public hearing at this time and come back to you, council. And now, if you have any questions for staff, Ed, or anyone else.
Yes, I'd like to ask staff. The projects we're talking about, I want to confirm that they're satisfying and they're in compliance with all ordinances and building codes. Is that correct? And also, would you tell us what the Planning Commission said as far as when they presented their denial? What information can we gain from the Planning Commission that might help us a little bit more?
Okay, your first question about the ordinance on the first page and then the second page is when I was reading. They are in compliance with the ordinance, section 10.8.5, items A through K, land coverage, lot size, density. setbacks, parking requirements, signage, heights, size requirements, landscaping, recreation. They meet the requirements. And then in terms of the Planning Commission, let's see, I'm going to try to summarize this. Several people spoke in opposition, just like tonight. The applicant brought up the Interchange 5, and people were concerned about neighborhoods being driven through to get to this. And then the 40-foot vertical difference was brought up. They also talked about the value of homes, just like tonight. It was brought up by the applicant, again, the proximity to the school and the trails, again, just like tonight. The Planning Commission felt like it should be closer to an interchange. They weren't real happy with the location. They felt the need for it. They did take offense when people started talking about the type of people coming. And as you heard tonight, they said that this is housing for policemen, firemen, other workers, and that the product is very much needed in the community. So they defended that, and they recognized that. They did talk about buffer areas. They felt there wasn't enough of a buffer. But they didn't have, like you had tonight, the elevation exhibit that was new. That's something they didn't see, which was this. They also didn't see these examples here, so try to give them a little more information to council, thinking about what they talked about there. One of the commissioners said that person was very conflicted, kind of going either direction on this. But there was ultimately a decision made to recommend denial. And I think I've kind of perused over quickly to try to answer you the minutes. I think I've covered most everything.
Thank you.
One last thing, I'm sorry. The motion was to recommend a denial because it is not harmonious, number one. Two, timing of the road access, they felt 24 months, 2 years, that'd be interchange 5. Number 3, the adjacent zones are R110. And number 4, other areas could be used and not this specific location. So.
Thank you. That leads me to one more question, Mayor, for Kurt. Everyone has referred to the fact that they'd like to have it closer to the interchange exit 5. Do you have plans for exit 5 as
Sure,
far
yeah,
as what's going to go in exit 5?
Let me review exit 5. As you know, the state of Utah, through the Utah Department of Transportation, has approved a state infrastructure bank for the construction of Interchange 5. They've agreed to loan the city $4.75 million, and then in turn, the city has agreed to loan us, the developer, that money, which is how we built Interchange 6 and Interchange 7. So that is in process right now, and we're in the design phase of that interchange right now. I think that, so did that answer your question?
Oh, what do you have planned to build right in that area?
Oh, so in that area, immediately you're surrounding the interchange.
Right.
I have to tell you that that's right under the flight path of the airport. And so our planning says that we can only build commercial right there. And so I don't think that we could practically build a higher density product there just because that's right under the flight path of the airport.
Airport overlay zone.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Let me also say one other thing. When you buy a house, you know, you're looking at your house that you bought. But what you're also buying is the street. You're also buying all the things that you don't see, like the water lines, the sewer lines, the gas lines, everything that you don't see. You're also buying that. When we build an affordable product far away from where we have infrastructure, it no longer is affordable because you've got to put all that stuff in. You've got to put the streets, the sewers, the water lines. So it's not as simple as moving something a long ways away and trying to keep it affordable. It doesn't work. That would be nice, but it's not an answer to keep things affordable.
Kurt, I have a question. Those On that diagram that's showing right there.
Yes,
In my mind, that house is there now.
that's correct.
Okay, on those two bottom houses and a roadway. No, I'm sorry.
Oh, this
the
one
middle
right here?
ones. Yeah,
Yep.
The middle ones.
that aren't there yet.
They're not there, yeah.
What are those lot size and what's the road size? The
Uh,
depth.
The depth is 100 feet on each lot. The road is 50, Ken, is it a 50 foot lot? So there's about 280 feet between, you know,
So,
given
so a
that,
buffer zone of almost,
a half a
up-
block.
well, yeah,
Yeah.
a football field.
Yeah,
That's pretty wide.
thank you.
Thank you, Kurt. Any other discussion, council? You know, just maybe for, again, the public that are here, this council actually is the council that approved this type of product and allowed homes to be built at a minimum of 3 feet apart because we believed that the product was necessary. And I don't really hear anyone denying that. It's just, it's kind of an age-old issue that's been referred to by Jimmy and others that, but maybe we don't want it in our backyard. And so then the issue is how close, to Joe's point, is your backyard. And this is what we struggle with. But we need these types of projects, and we've got to spread the various housing products around. And that's one of the things that this developer, I believe, is trying to do, and it's what we're trying to do as a city. And while this is extremely high density to Jimmy Hughes, right, Jimmy? Low density to you would be what? 5 acres? 5 acres?
5 acres would be good for me. If
Yeah.
I were the king of St. George, that's
Yeah.
what we'd be at.
Yeah, and so it's all relative, but high density, as was referred to by Kurt, is, you know, might actually in our code look more like apartment buildings, you know, and that's not what we're talking about here. While there will be some higher densities in this area somewhere, we're not talking about that here. You know, as I look at it, council, I see 2 major developers that will develop approximately 8,500 acres on this south block between 2 major developers. And so we are, in a way, very fortunate, I think, that there are only 2, so that we can work on having development plans with these developers and envision as much as possible up front. But as has been mentioned by Councilmember Hughes, there will be some changes. Not everything is contemplated up front, but we do have a general idea, and we in this council and future councils will still have to approve changes to those planned development zones, whether commercial, residential, and what type of residential, and products, colors, materials, elevations. So that's the good news, is because of the way it is zoned and because it is a master plan or a development plan, development agreement with a couple of developers, I think it will help us avoid some of the mistakes that are made often in cities and have been made here before. And it helps spread the different products. What I hope is that regardless of what happens tonight here, that those in St. George that live here now will understand we've got to do that. We've got to spread the different housing types around. We've got to. If we don't accomplish that, frankly, there is genuine, I'm not trying to use scare tactics, but there is a move afoot at the state legislature to take this authority away from the cities. Why? Because the state is getting more and more pressure to have more and more high density. And they want to help us out so that we because they know that we have these very meetings and that there's a lot of pressure on planning commissions and city councils to try to respond. And we want to respond to citizens. And so they want to help us out and take that authority away from it, keep it in Salt Lake, and they'll decide. where the higher density goes, whether it's PD8, or PR, Plan Development 8 residential or higher density. So I think we need to make sometimes difficult decisions. That's what we're paid the big bucks to do. Council, other questions, otherwise
Mayor,
discussion?
Mayor, you alluded to, and Jimmy did, to Little Valley. And the product that we're seeing here today, there's been some changes that this density or the 3-foot separation from one unit to another, that's a big step forward into allowing some of this affordable housing that the state's concerned about, just as we are. But there's a reason why Little Valley's turned out the way it has. Everyone there wanted 5-acre lots. They didn't sell. The demand wasn't there. There was a reason why that decision was made to allow the building that's taken place there. And we're kind of in a similar situation here, only this product is a little bit different. This is a step up when we had that planned neighborhood development to allow this type of building, to allow for homes, first-time buyers for homes, young families to have a place to go. And that's the dilemma that we find ourselves in. I don't know that there's a place in town that that you see some of these big homes and multi-million-dollar homes we have in town, but even along over on River Road and the Boulders, you see the same thing happening there. There's a commercial area that someone wants to build a 2- or 3-story hotel there. The people that are there and have those valued homes, they're concerned about that. They're going to have the same concerns out here. We're going to have the same issues. But Utah is a property right state. How do we mitigate that? How do we decide in favor of one over the other? And you still have to try to do what's in the best interest of the city at large, and to provide homes and housing for that are affordable. And I understand that this particular market, correct me if I'm wrong, Kurt, it was about 237,000, somewhere in there, for these size homes. To me, that's a lot of money. You know, someone mentioned that buying a home for $80,000. I bought my first house for $20,000, $23,000. You can't do that anymore. These are adjustments that we make. It's part of growing. It's part of the responsibilities that we have for future generations to allow them to have places to live and to work.
Yeah, thank you. Are we ready for a motion one way or the other? If so, I'd entertain that. If there needs to be more discussion, that's fine as well. Any other questions of staff or the applicant is also fine. I can't make a motion.
These are really tough. I just want the residents out there to know that we really put a lot of thought into this, and it is really tough when you come and you have these concerns, and we're trying to mitigate those concerns, and then we feel the weight and the pressure. You know, just recently, I have a son that's getting to the age where he may fly the nest, and I don't have any married kids yet, and I started thinking even just today, where are they going to be able to live if they want to stay in St. George? Now, this is coming from a guy that just voted no on a high-density project a couple of weeks ago, if you guys all remember, against all the rest of the council, because I didn't think that it fit into the place where it was at. I don't feel that way here. It just feels like we have a blank slate out there. I would love for my children to be able to live there in that neighborhood with people like you, to be able to associate with people like you, and to be able to live there. And that's one of the things that we're seeing happening more and more, is we want to build these neighborhoods where there's a cross-section of housing, where we're not walling each other off and saying, hey, these people live over here and these people live over here. That doesn't make a good community. I'm a fan of big lots. I rarely vote to approve, well, I vote to approve them, but I rarely make a motion to approve a lot size under 10,000 square feet. It's just a personal preference. But but we've listened to school teachers who have begged us to be able to find places where they can live. School teachers, police officers, people that just live normal lives, that have normal jobs, that need a nice place to live. I don't think this is a situation of the developer. I try to do the math here. They're not going to make a whole bunch more money off of this versus a 10,000 square foot lot. They're really trying to build a good product and a cohesive community which has multiple property types. A good place to put that's next to where a school is going to be. That's good planning. Like I say, I've lived here my whole life mostly. I went away to find women, whiskey, and gold in California. You guys have heard me say that before. I never found none of it there. We've got to do this. We've got to build the right community. I feel like that we can make this work here, and I give you fair warning. They may have even told you there's nothing going to be behind that Arizona line. You've probably been told that, all you people that lived out there.
No guarantees.
There is no guarantees that that can happen. And I hope people out there in TV land that may see this, if you have open property next to you, you have to be ready that that's going to change. Okay? It's happened to me my whole entire life. I remember the day when we used to have animals in downtown St. George, and they banned that when they said, hey, no more. If you don't have them already, once they leave, don't come back. That was a big deal. It was a big deal. It's part of change. I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we approve the zone change from R110 to, what are we calling it? PD8? PDR?
PDR.
On the 17.56 acres as explained. And are we approving the site plan and the project design? Do we have to do that?
Yes, that would be part of it, wouldn't it? Ray? Yep.
So as discussed.
Second.
We have a motion by Jimmy and a second by Ed. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I just
Betty.
was going to say I drove out and looked at this area, and they're darling homes. And it's not just starter homes. I mean, great finisher homes too.
That's good.
We have a lot of people that are at that point of in their lives as well. I just thought they were darling. I think I might sell mine and move out there.
Any other discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, starting with Betty, say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, and thank you for the input. We appreciate the work of the staff and the developer, and I believe you will find these will be good neighbors. Okay, next, number 6 on our agenda.
Jimmy, that was a toughie, but you know, I feel comfortable that you're doing the right thing.
Ready?
Okay, go ahead, Wes.
Okay, item 6 is a request to consider an amended final subdivision plat called Lot 159 of the Cliffs of Snow Canyon Plat J. Representative is Rosenberg Associates. Property is located at 3052 North Snow Canyon Parkway. Zone is PDR. Purpose of this amendment is to increase the lot size. This is Lot 159. The purpose of this amendment is to increase the lot size right here to match what was actually constructed. It was actually constructed, this is all common area right through here. So they met with the HOA and they've agreed to allow them to increase their property to match what was constructed. And so they'll be vacating this public utility easement here, be establishing this new public utility easement here. We'll be subject to verifying that they still meet the ordinance in a PD, that they have 30% open space. We're pretty confident they do, but we'll just need to make sure they provide the numbers.
Did you also say that the HOA had agreed to give up that common property?
Yep.
Questions? Okay. Thank you, Wes. I think we're good. I'll open the public hearing for anyone that might have come to provide input or ask questions on this item number 6. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, come back to you, council, for any discussion or for your action.
Motion to amend the final subdivision plat of Lot 159, the Cliffs of Snow of Snow Canyon Plat J.
Second.
Motion was by Michelle with a second by Betty. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, starting with Ed, say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. Number 7.
Okay, item 7 is a request to consider approval of vacating a public utility easement at Jewel Plaza. So this is Jewel Plaza here. The request is to vacate an existing utility easement right along this area here and down here. And in return, they will be dedicating new easements for public utilities in these locations here. I believe these have already been dedicated, but if not, we'll make sure that they're both dedicated, they're both done at the same time.
So it moves those easements to the edge of the property?
Yeah, and it kind of matches more what the Jewel Plaza development was doing. Most of it's driven by power. There is some sewer and water utilities, but for the most part, it's fit for power.
Sean, are we okay to do this from your perspective before we've confirmed? I mean, I guess we could make it subject to, we just want to make sure that there are easements.
Right.
Are or will be.
So we'll make it subject to the Jewel Plaza dedicating easements that we need on that project.
Excellent.
As determined by city staff.
Excellent.
So it doesn't have to come back to you.
Any questions, council, before I open the public hearing on this one? Okay, then I will open the public hearing, see if there's anyone here who's here to make comment on this item, number 7. And seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and come back to you, council, for your action.
Mayor, I'd make a motion that we approve the ordinance vacating a public easement located in lots 4, 7, and block 18, Plat A, St. George City Survey, Jewel Plaza, was subject to the Jewel Plaza making the dedication that Sean pointed out.
The new easements subject to staff and
right.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion by Ed with a second by Michelle. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor, starting with Betty this time, say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, item 8 is a request to consider an amended subdivision final plat, lot 27 and 28 of Entrada at Snow Canyon Chaco Bench Phase 3. Representative is True Line Surveying. Property is located at 2552 North Kiva Circle in the Entrada development. Purpose of this amendment is to merge these two lots together. This is lot 28, lot 27. Purpose of this is to just merge these two lots together. There is no utility easement out in the Entrada area. The public utility easements were only provided along the roadways. So there was no utility easement. There is no utility easement to be vacated right there along the lot line.
Questions, council? If there are no questions, ready for a motion. This does not require a public hearing.
I would move that we approve the ordinance amending the final plat for lots 27 and 28 of Entrada at Snow Canyon Chaco Bench Phase 3.
Second.
Motion by Joe with a second by Ed. Any discussion? All in favor, starting with Ed this time, say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. Number 9.
Mayor and council, have you met our new planning employee, our new planner?
Well, I have, but yeah, we need to meet her. Yeah.
Can I embarrass Carol and have her come up real quick? Well, this is Carol Davidson.
Yeah. I'm
Carol,
speak.
Tell us where you've come from most recently.
I was in Kansas for 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Doing planning and
You're not
zoning.
in Kansas anymore, are you?
I am not, and yeah, you're the third.
How'd you find your way here?
I used to live in St. George 5 years ago. Have been trying to get back. This is the first time you've actually been hiring since.
Oh, good.
Since
Awesome.
I've graduated in planning, so
Perfect.
I've actually been looking on and off for the last. It's been like 8 years. No, it's been close to 10 years. So, yeah.
Well, welcome back.
I've been trying to get here. Here
We
I
are
am.
so glad to have you.
Now the prices of houses are like way too high. I'm gonna have to move out to that.
To that new area,
To
see?
the-
There you go.
yeah, the desert canyons. Yes. But I am very happy to be here, and it's very good to meet you all.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.
All right, number 9. Let me bring it up here real fast. Number 9 reads, consider a request to add an addition to an existing home and to continue its non-conforming side yard setback. The proposal is located 32 west, 200 south, and it's in the RCC zone. So again, 32 west, 200 south. This shows a vicinity. Here's 100 South Street. It's this property right here. And a close-up view of it. And this is a proposed cross-section of what it would look like. And the floor plan, existing floor plan, and the expansion, and a better way, and also the second level, that's new. So here's the street view. I understand that this lot is now developed. I didn't get out to take a picture of it, but this is not vacant. This is the lot. You can see the 2 sloping roofs here, and in the next photo I'll show you they'll be adding right in the back here, and that would look like, here's the 2 sloping roofs, and here's the addition in the side view. Let me see if I can find the site plan. The area here is 2 foot 8 inches, and they want to continue that nonconformity. The Planning Commission does recommend approval. I have the section of the code in the staff report that allows it. It's not an unusual request. The ordinance section is on the bottom of the first page of that staff report, and the Planning Commission recommends approval of City Council of this remodel and expansion of an existing home and to continue its non-conforming side yard setback because it's been determined that the proposed change will not impose any unreasonable burden upon the lands located in the vicinity of the non-conforming use or structure because the home has been there for many years and will be upgraded and improved from its existing condition.
So that's going to the back of the existing home, correct?
Yes.
Beautiful.
Be right back in here.
Just so you know, in case you don't know, that's my neighborhood, but to the left of that house is now where they're already building a 2-story large house right there on 100, on 200. And this will pretty much match that part of it too, it looks like.
Yeah, for a while there, Joe, I thought that was your pickup out there.
It is. Yeah, true.
It hasn't got as many miles as mine.
You know that, huh?
Nor does its driver.
Well, that does conclude staff's comments. I should have shown this first. This shows the 2 foot 8, and they would like to continue that.
Any other questions or discussion, council? Ready for a motion?
Move to approve an addition to an existing home and to continue its non-conforming side yard setback. This home is located at 32 West, 200 South.
Second.
Motion was made by Betty and a second by Joe. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously.
Item number, I'm sorry, did I jump the gun? Okay, item number 10, consider approval of a conditional use permit for an RV garage on lot 30 of the Arborist Phase 3 residential subdivision. This is located at 3011 South Poplar Drive, and it's in the R112 zone. This shows you the vicinity. The lot is highlighted over here. And a closer view of the home, the existing home. And they would like to, the applicants here in the audience who would like to put an RV garage in the back. Low density residential general plan, R112 zoning. This was the architectural picture of the home, and then this is the photo of what it looks like, that would be going back behind. And this shows the proposed RV garage with a shop and pool and bath. Now the red lines that I put here, after talking with the applicant, it's recommended that that be removed, and what it is it's a stairway and a storage area up on the top but that's not permitted per code to have a second story. And so this would come off. The applicant understands that and agreed, and what he wants to do inside is there's a bathroom in here and a storage area. He'd just have a flat roof on that. He has his own little forklift, and he'd store and put things up on top of that. And staff and planning commission felt comfortable with that. He'd be getting rid of the deck out here in the second level and getting rid of a doorway up here. Those would come out. So that is basically it. Is there any questions on that?
Why don't we allow that?
The code reads that it can be an accessory structure can only be a single story. And all we look at that on all of them that we always
Unless
bring
it's
forward.
connected, right?
If it's connected, then it's part of the structure,
then it
part
could
of the
be
primary
two-story.
residence. Yes, then it could be. You could have a garage with a room above it touching the house, part of the house, but this is detached. It's in the backyard, and then it has a set distance. It has a set distance, has to be at least 6 feet away from the house. This, as you can see, varies, but it's up to 42 feet. And
I vote we change that sometime soon.
well, when you're looking at the code, that's a possibility.
I'd second that.
Yeah.
See?
For 4 years now, I've seconded that.
Yep.
So Ray, can they have
I would too.
toilets up in this structure, or?
Well, yes, we've allowed toilets and sinks. We've tried to keep it so that because you have a single-family residence on a single-family lot, not to create a second unit and end up with 2 dwelling units on a single-family residential zone. We understand maybe somebody has a shop in here and they don't want to track grease into the house. Yeah, they can have a restroom. That's not unusual. We look if there's a kitchen. We look at safety issues with somebody who's going to live there and it wasn't designed to have a residence.
But in a case where if there's a swimming pool back there, it makes sense to have a bathroom.
Yeah.
Even more
Even a
so.
kitchen, it would make sense if your pool's right there.
Mm-hmm.
Is there access? I mean, I was looking at that house. How do they get back to the garage? Is there room over there?
Let me
I
go
mean,
back.
I guess that's not our problem. Oh, I see. There's a double
Yeah,
garage door.
yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Okay.
So it may not look like it, but you do have 16
Just
feet.
the
You can
shadow.
kind of look
It's
at
the shadow.
The shadow may cause that effect,
Yeah.
but you can also look at the vehicles. There's a vehicle back
Yeah.
here, and you can just drive back.
Perfect.
They would have to pave it to get back to the RV garage.
He just puts them back there with his forklift.
Everybody should have a forklift.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Any other
Second.
questions? Yeah. Go ahead, Betty, if you're.
Move to approve the conditional use permit for an RV garage on Lot 30 of the Arbors Phase 3 residential subdivision.
Second.
Motion by Betty with a second by Jimmy to approve this RV garage as has been presented to us, correct?
Correct.
Any discussion on the motion?
No, but we need to look at that.
Well, we can do that as part of our land use, so.
Yes.
All in
Mr.
favor?
Guzman.
Sorry. All in favor, he got it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you.
Next item is item 11, another conditional use permit. Consider approval of conditional use permit for an RV garage on Lot 70 of Meadow Valley Farms residential subdivision located at 2292 East, 4040 South, and this is in an RE20 zone. This shows the property. There's the end of Little Valley Road at that point. Quarry Ridge Drive over here. That shows the property existing home. It's in RR residential, rural residential general plan land use, and the zoning is RE20. The subdivision shows the property and the lot. Existing residence north. This is kind of flipped upside down, and it'll be different in just a moment. But it shows the home. I'm sorry, the home here and the RV garage in the back behind the home. And then I've just flipped it to show north here. Here's 4040 South Street, the existing home, and the proposed RV garage in the back. Elevations of it. I should have mentioned on the other one, the materials would match the home, colors, materials, type of roof. And then a better view of it, the tile roof is shown here in detail. This height is 17 feet to the midpoint. The ridge is at 19 feet 4 inches, but again, we measure to the midpoint. Stucco and the cultured stone on it. And it's a little unusual. It looks like it's a shortened roof and not a lot of overhang in comparison. So on that one, real quick, Jer Alvarez is in the audience. This is his request. It has to come before you because it exceeds the limit of 15 feet. There's not a lot of difference. It's just 17, 2 feet higher, but that requires a conditional use permit. Distance from the home is 27 feet 4 inches. The rear is 4 feet. The side is 5 feet. The west side is not applicable. And I'm looking at page 2, the items that they have to go through for an accessory building. And basically, I want to point out that they will have to get a letter from the JUC, Joint Utility Committee, because at 5 feet instead of 7. But the applicant's aware of that, and that's something that can be taken care of. And I apologize again, there's the findings that go with this. I'm looking at, can't see my page number, sorry. Page 3. Planning Commission recommends approval with suggested conditions, the location and setbacks, 27 feet 4 inches from the house, the 5 feet and 5 feet setbacks. That number 2, he will get the easement through the JUC, install a concrete driveway. It'll be single story, and the colors and materials will match, plus the findings. And item G is the big one under findings, the 17 feet. So that concludes staff's comments.
I will make a motion to approve this conditional use permit because of the 24 inches. That's all I have to say.
What?
Second. Oh, go ahead, Jimmy.
It's close. We had a motion by Michelle, and we'll give the second to Jimmy this time. Any discussion on the motion to approve this CUP? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Jared, go home.
I think he was worried about it. He stayed here this whole time.
Yeah.
This should have been one we tested out. We never denied one. We could have tested it out, huh?
You bet. Thank you.
Item 12 is a conditional use permit, and it reads, consider approval of a conditional use permit for the Thurston Atkin House to be operated as a vacation rental and historic home originally built by Thomas Jefferson Thurston in the early 1880s. The home is located at 270 West, 2200 North in the RCC zone. Did I get that? Excuse me, 200 North.
Yeah.
So this just shows the plat for the home, built circa 1878. This shows the lot. And I won't read this, but this gives information. It's from our historic homes booklet that we have for this city. And a couple different views taken of the home. There's the home in the front, and there's a carriage house in the rear. And the floor plans for it. This was from Google Map, street views of it. And then the applicant provided quite a few photos. Here's the main house, the historic house in the front. And the paved area that goes up to the carriage house in the back. And moving around the outside of the carriage house, it's immaculate on the inside, according to these photos. And then the garden area that they have also. So to the staff report. The applicant proposes to establish a vacation rental within a historic home and within an accompanying detached historic carriage house. And between the two buildings would have a total of 3 sleeping rooms. The applicant has provided a narrative that's in your packet. The page 2 goes through, I won't read all of this, but it goes through the sections of the code where we looked at the RCC zone, how the RCC zone references and has language that carries over from the R1 zones, the conditional use section of the zoning ordinance, and then in particular Title 10, Chapter 21, landmark sites. I'm going to jump over to page 3 and read here Title 10, Chapter 14, supplementary and qualifying regulations, short-term rentals. It's staff's opinion that this section applies to all single-family residences proposed to have a vacation rental and are subject to those restrictions, but that a landmark home is subject to Section 1021(3), which is, again, the landmark sites section of the code. This would not be a bed and breakfast because the owner doesn't live there, and that's the reason wanting to do the vacation rental. On the bottom of page 3 just goes into detail about the carriage house and the historic home and the square footages. The driveway, the property has a gravel driveway on the east side of the house which extends from the street back to the carriage house, about 104 feet long. And it kind of talks about there's enough parking there, tandem, and also there's that paved area that you saw in the photograph. And then the bottom of the page just talks about analysis of the parking and feel that it meets and exceeds the requirement. On page 4, operation of property is owned by John Lundberg, who resides off-site, and the property is being offered for sale by him, but if it's approved by you as a conditional use permit, the conditional use permit runs with the land, and it would be for vacation rental. Again, the distinction, it wouldn't be a bed and breakfast because they would not live there. So the Planning Commission recommends approval that the applicant shall maintain an open and clear driveway. The applicant shall maintain a level of landscaping existing at the time of the approval and maintain the historic quality of the property. And then we jump into the findings that we have to look at for all conditional use permits. And I won't read these, you can look them over, but excuse me, let me jump to the next page. No changes in the height. I did put bed and breakfast here. That should say vacation rental under item H. The hours of operation, that would be just as rentals go, 24/7 sometimes. And item J, maintain the character and purpose of the zone. The proposed uses are within the character of the zone and the historic landmark site. And that concludes staff's comments. I think I've covered most everything. Tried to do it quickly.
Thank you, Ray. Any questions?
Yeah, I got some questions. You know I'm not a real big fan of short-term rentals. However, the historic value of the home should be considered also. My challenge with it is those findings that you had that are not part of the, well, some of the things they said, you know, you had to keep the same look and feel of that building and the landscaping and all that. How does that carry over to a new buyer? Is there any legal way to say that they accept those things?
Sean will probably address that, but I'll just briefly say that you'll have the conditions you had and the findings you had, and that would go with a conditional use permit, which would run with the land.
That's right. And if you recall, we did that for, and in my mind, I remember it being called the Nelson House, but it's right there by the Brigham Young home.
Thompson House.
Thompson. See, I was close. Same, yes. I mean, yes, right there. And so they actually rent those by the room, and they have it set up for restrooms in there. And now I don't recall us putting, while we say they have to keep the historic character of the home, I don't require us addressing the landscaping in particular on that one. But the purpose was the same. We wanted to save a historic home, and that was the only way to do it, is to make it have a use.
So who would monitor that if it didn't happen?
That would fall back on the city to do that.
Yeah.
And most likely it would just be complaint driven, because
Like
if it turned,
because historical preservation society.
And I also think some of the neighborhood would say, people are staying here long term, so it's turned into an apartment house rather than short-term rental or a bed and breakfast or whatever we've approved, because we have approved both of those in some of our historic homes downtown.
Yeah, I think I could handle it easier if it was a bed and breakfast, if the owner was on site. I do know that some of the neighbors there are not, there's some concerns there. It was strange to me when I said, well, what if you had a full-time rental there? Well, we'd take that chance, you know.
I think it's the potential number of units that they're more concerned about, that it turn into an apartment house versus just an overnight stay.
Yeah.
So, Sean, just clarifications for the people at home too. You would normally not be able to put a short-term rental, or in this case we're calling short-term vacational rental, in the residential community such as this is. The only reason you're able to do this is because it is a historical home.
That's right. And in the past, we haven't called them short-term rentals, but essentially that's what the Thompson House is, because they rent it by the room. But we've also allowed, for example, accountants and even attorneys, believe it or not, to have offices in some of these historic homes, even though they're in a residential neighborhood, because we wanted to save that historic home, and the only way to do it was to put it to some type of use.
So, and just to follow up a little bit on what Joe was saying, for them to be able to accomplish this, they would have to have a local company or a live-in to live there. This applicant
not live there. They just have to have a local management company.
They're excluded from that because of the historical nature of this.
Well, we actually require that for our rentals too.
Right.
That they have either a local person identified that can be contacted, or a management company.
Right.
That's
So
local.
in this case, this applicant, he's building this and providing all the requirements that go with it, but he intends to sell it. How do we know that the buyer who's going to buy this is going to comply with this, the restrictions as far as being local or a live-in?
Well, we can also you could also ask us or require that we record something on that property, a document that lists those requirements on there in order to be able to use it for this use.
And that way,
otherwise, it would revert back to just a single-family dwelling.
So the only way you could actually do that is have some kind of a deed restriction on it?
No, that's not the only way, because your approval, as Ray said, with the conditional use permit, will have those conditions in there. And so anybody who would buy that and want to continue that use would have to follow those conditions that you put on tonight.
Right.
So the only purpose of putting the notice, let's call it, instead of a deed restriction, it's just really more of just a use restriction, is that it provides notice to any buyer in the future when they go to buy that property that those are the conditions. So they don't buy it, say, be told by the person selling it to them that they can use it for apartments, for example, and they walk through and think, oh, it looks like apartments to me, so we should be able to do that.
So legally, though, that could be an apartment place, not counting the short term?
No.
Why not?
Because it's not zoned for that, and you're not approving it for that tonight. You're
well,
so legally.
Wouldn't we have rentals in the RCC anyway?
We do have rentals,
Yeah.
but remember that's in accordance with our ordinance. So if it's a single-family dwelling, that's what they get to rent. We do have some that
Okay,
were.
so you're saying the carriage house makes a difference?
The carriage house would make a difference if it was. It depends on what you want to approve tonight. It certainly would not change that zoning into allowing multiple dwelling units on that property.
I don't get that.
So you're going to be able to rent from the house, the major house, plus the carriage house. They're going to be able to rent out in that structure as well.
That's what, if you approve that tonight, that's what we would allow. And the reason is because you would want to save those structures rather than see someone come in and tear that historic home. Now, that's not for every home that's older. Not all of them are homes that you would want to save and give that use to. That's why we look to the historic designation that that has been made on some of these homes.
So there would be nothing to stop someone from doing that if they chose to.
No.
And they could come back and either just build a new home.
That's right.
Or they could come and ask for a zone change for something else.
They could, or I don't know how big the lot is, but if it's big enough to be subdivided downtown, then they could subdivide it and put 2 units on it.
So that's what I think Sean's saying, is that is why the city councils have used this as a way to try to keep some of these older homes.
I understand that. I just, sometimes precedents are set that we wish we hadn't.
Yeah, and I can understand that too. That has been debated in the past with the council when they've
Right.
looked at some of these. And the determination was generally when someone comes in to rent as a sort of hotel, they're coming with 1 car rather than having the 2 cars that typically go with each dwelling unit, even when they're an apartment, and maybe even 3, that the impact seems to be less because you don't have as many people coming and going per unit. And so they felt like it really wasn't detrimental in most cases to the neighborhood around it, and that it was beneficial to save that home. And I think in the Nelson House, if you saw that, Thompson House, if you saw the Thompson House before they renovated it and what it looks like, has looked like now.
Great improvement.
Yeah, really
I
good
guess I'm
improvement.
still, if the final buyer was here, I'd probably feel more comfortable.
Right. I understand your hesitation on that. So we could go to a type of notice that's recorded on the property that lists what the conditional uses are, but we'd want to be very specific on those requirements. And while we can say the historic nature of the home and the character and things of that nature, I'm not sure what we'd require landscaping-wise. So, and we've never done that. I will say that we have in some where they've asked for the gravel driveways to look more historic, that we've allowed them to do that and specified what type of gravel and how they did that, but we've never gone into what your landscaping plan looks like. And so you can do that, but we just haven't done that before.
Clear as mud? This backs our, what, sides on to Legion Hall, right? And the senior center, kind of on the east, kind of northeast. It's you know, it's a tough call. Beyond Second North, you know, Second North and Tabernacle both, you see these things happening, you know, where it's becoming either commercial or, in this case, a mixture of, you know, bed and breakfast and some other uses. You know, the, what's it called, the family support centers in one of these homes. And you've got the Thompson House and several others, right? 7 Wives Inn and several others. So, I don't know, it's sort of a sign of a street in an area in transition. And does this help us? Does it buy you time? Does it maybe buy you a lot of time? You know, it's a cute house.
And it's probably the most historic area of St. George because
Yeah.
that's where St. George started, was
Yeah.
over there.
Yeah, it's important.
Yeah. But I appreciate the concerns because, you know, it does strike me as a little different, you know, but very similar to short-term rentals and bed and breakfast versus short-term rentals, but you wouldn't have the same. Yeah.
There's somebody there watching it.
Yeah. Well, maybe. You know, that was our problem with short-term rentals anyway. But bed and breakfast usually, yeah.
And again, with the Thompson home, when that was brought up, I believe, and we'd have to look at it, we had some requirements for the housekeeping on that. And that was one of the ways to monitor what was going on in the home. But it's been a number of years, so we'd have to look that up to see exactly what required for them.
Well, council, you certainly, you know, different things you could do here. You could approve it. You could, as Sean said, you've got a couple of options in terms of note on the record on the versus on the plat. Is that right?
Versus a deed restriction, we
Deed
can simply
yeah.
say that, record a document that, as a notice to say that for this use, these are the requirements. Otherwise, it reverts back to a single-family dwelling.
So that's an option. Of course, you can deny it. If you want to know further information, I guess you could table it too.
We can visit with the applicant.
Mhm.
If you table it to the next council
Mhm.
meeting, we can also look up the requirements we did for
With the Thompson.
for the Thompson home, and come back with, if you request us to come back with suggestions from staff on what we would require.
In my heart and mind, that's the only way I would vote in favor of it.
You want
I'm not
more
prepared-
information?
I'm not prepared to.
Well,
Move-
let's have a
move to
motion.
table.
Second.
For, till our next regular meeting? Okay. Have a motion by Betty and a second by Jimmy. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Good.
And also, yes, and if you have some particular individuals that have contacted you in that neighborhood, we could reach out to them too.
Notice they didn't probably have a conditional use permit for the two-story carriage house.
It's already there.
In the 1800s, they were smarter.
Okay, folks, would you like to have a
Please.
quick break?
Wait, let's
'Cause
just do this, let's just do this tower.
You want to do 13?
They provided me so much joy just looking at those two. Look at them. Aren't they darling? They're cute. That's a cute couple, and we shouldn't make them wait any longer.
I don't
This is your date
know.
night. Is this your date night? See?
What?
They even chew their gum at the same pace.
Paying attention to anything else?
No, I just have been mesmerized.
Okay,
by
let's do 13.
Okay.
Item 13, consider approval of a conditional use permit to erect a 100-foot tower and to install communications enclosure associated with it located on top of Webb Hill, and the zoning area is OS, which is open space. This shows kind of a close-up aerial of the area. This would be the ridge area, and then as it slopes down, as you're aware, this is showing the location that's proposed, and another drawing of that showing a 20 by 30-foot building for it, the access. This is what it would look like. It's not a monopole, it's a lattice tower. And this, again, just shows the green area is open space in both the zoning and the general plan is PF, public facility. This is what Webb Hill looks like now.
So it's going to stick out, obviously.
Yeah, it's going to
it's
stick
gonna
out.
stand right
It'll
out.
be right about here, so it'll be amongst.
They did move it where the ground's a little lower.
Look at all those towers.
We got to draw the line
Can you
somewhere, though,
Can
guys.
you climb on this one too?
Well, I'll let the applicant talk about that, but they would have to have security gate to keep people from doing that.
I've had to tell my kids not to climb. I mean, I've told some kids not to climb on those anymore.
Well, that's good.
Somebody's kid?
Yeah, somebody's. When I saw the pictures.
So, real quick, the staff report, again, on the first page, it's a request to allow the 100-foot communications lattice tower. And the ordinances are shown on the bottom of that page. I won't read through those. My understanding on this is I thought I had it in a report. For some reason it's not jumping out at me, but this would be for AM radio, FM radio, television, two-way communication, radio dispatch, and I'll let the applicant address possibly to have providers on it.
Ray, that's Canyon Media.
Canyon Media is the applicant, and the Planning Commission does recommend approval. The maximum, number one, the maximum height would be 100 feet. Number two, you would approve it, if you approve it, to have the shelter. You'll have to look at the findings, A through K, because it's a conditional use permit. 4, the tower and the uses shall be provided by FCC, and I did attach so you could see the different letters, and I think that's where I've got the AM and the FM and all from. 4, that was, again, the FCC. 5, They'll have to do a site plan review application, of civil engineering plans, and staff will look at that. 6, fencing for security. And then, again, the findings on the next page, starting 3. D was what you were just talking about, aesthetics. It'll be amongst friends. Similar towers exist in close proximity on Webb Hill. Safety, they'll have to meet state, federal, communication, tower codes and issues for that. Traffic, no increase in traffic is anticipated, except for occasional maintenance. And G is the big one, the height. And I think that concludes staff's comments.
So, Ray, this will have no impact on the police communications. The two-way radio stations won't have either a negative or positive impact as far as public safety use. The radio's communications
Well, I
won't
would
be
say no,
impacted.
but I'll let the applicant come up and introduce himself since he's been waiting there patiently. And
The only
just
way I
address
can vote for this if we get back a classic country station. So kind of consider that.
If you give me a 1,000-foot tower, I'll do it.
Whoa.
We're getting a little punchy here, Matt.
That's all right. It was 10 o'clock at planning and zoning, I think.
Oh.
Yeah. So we're doing good. We're ahead.
Yeah.
Matt Burgoyne.
Thanks for being here, Matt.
Thanks. Question about interference. No. We have 2 different engineers that we've worked with. One that handles Ensign Peak in Salt Lake, where everything is. One out of California. We do not anticipate having any interference, but we operate a lot of towers between Idaho Falls and here. And the general rule is that you just do no harm. So the last one in, if there's any interference of any kind, they're the ones that scale back, fix it, filter it. And our agreement and understanding with the other company that's up there, and obviously anything that's up there, would just be no harm.
So just a curiosity, do you have one there now, and what will this add as far as capabilities? Just
So
for fun?
we are not adding any new equipment than we already have there now. It just gives us the ability to have it on our own tower.
Gotcha.
So there's not even any increased traffic. We're already servicing our equipment there now.
So I'm not going to get free TV or anything after you put it up?
No.
That's what I was hoping it was. Free radio. Free radio, yeah. That's good.
Other questions?
I'm sorry.
my
She's
gosh.
a really good company.
They're in love, and they're googling eyes at each other, and they're adorable. They look like they're in a movie.
Oh, we bought dinner while you guys were talking about 2, 3, and 4.
Good honesty.
I told you, this is a tough crowd, and we're getting punchy.
I think they went bowling, too, while we were talking about something else.
Really good company, huh?
Really good company.
That's nice.
All right.
Any other questions?
Somebody please make a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve a conditional use permit to erect a 100-foot tower and to install a communications enclosure located at the top of Webb Hill.
Second.
We have a motion by Michelle with a second by Betty. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Look at that. Passes unanimously. Imagine that. Thank you, and thanks for your patience. And now we're going to take a brief, and we'll make it brief recess.
dinner Tuesday night. All Hispanic Mexican food.
What was it?
My wife took her shopping, and most of it they went out to that Three Amigos out on Bluff Street. Yeah.
See? See?
Here comes Christina.
See?
Yeah. Nothing for us, huh?
What's up? I will get you some.
No. I'm just gonna complain.
Maybe start serving popcorn. Popcorn, they need to have blanket. For regulars. I'm free, I'm shivering.
I am too.
No, but there's a point when you get hypothermia that you go to sleep and then you're done.
Yeah.
And then you warm up and
When you take
you're
your
gone.
clothes off, it starts feeling good. Somebody told me that most people who sleep, they find when they're naked, they got warm and they take their clothes off. I know it.
Oh, no, the one thing I was going to tell you, you need to go to
Mama Judy's school, okay.
Just tell me, but come on. Step. And this one?
Never did happen. Neither one of those did happen.
But I'm just sharing that with you.
I know.
You're my friend.
Well, I think we probably already knew that.
You're living the deal.
I'm not gonna say it.
So what, did John get out of this? He doesn't have to come anymore?
No, he had to go to the conference today, tomorrow.
So I bet that lady, oh, well, she said she lived here before, the new. Quit your heels, honey, you ain't in Kansas anymore. Wait till the
You
summer.
know what could happen in Kansas, though?
What?
You'd never have to go on site, because you can see forever. It's so damn flat. Only thing I gotta worry about is sucked up in a tornado. Yeah.
You know something? Odd.
Yes.
Froze. We didn't ask. I got my hand shaken by the mayor of Igawa. He leaned over, mouths both feet, and I guess because John handed me the stash of the pins.
Yeah.
So we said, that must be your mama. But I don't know what it was. Shook our hands and whatever. But you know something? I recognized the runners from the
did you?
Some of them. The last time they were here. That's sort of cool. You know, that really is cool.
That is cool.
Our granddaughter went to Japan for a year in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And she speaks Japanese fluently, but her class did not know it because they were not allowed, they had to speak Japanese. I mean, they had to speak English.
The teacher was not allowed to speak
And, but she was in a really low income area, a lot of broken families, and the kids didn't get high suicide rate because they had not succeeded, and they don't succeed in themselves. It's terrible. But and they treated her horribly, and then when they found out, they made comments, and then she talked about her, and she could, of course, could understand them. Yeah. And so then a lot of insults, and then she brought them some cookies one day, and then something else, and then they found out that she could speak Japanese. Oops. All right, kids, let's wrap it up.
Okay, let's rock and roll. Oh.
Everybody buy sugar face? Here we go.
Yeah, they will. All right, we're back in black, or something like that. Some of us.
Okay.
Who's up? Wes?
Everybody else?
What are we on?
home.
We're on
Nine.
14.
I will go
14,
fast.
9 lot.
Okay, you ready?
Go.
Okay, item 14 is a request to consider approval of a 9-lot residential subdivision final plat called Crimson Shadow Subdivision. Representative is Bush and Gudgel. Property is located at 2070 South Street at approximately 2500 East. Zone is RE20 and RE12-5. All aspects of this final plat were reviewed by staff and meets the conditions of the preliminary plat. So I believe these are the RE12-5 and then these are the RE20 zones. And basically it's just these lots right here. This is 2000 South, so if you went this way, you have that new elementary school. It's not too old right over here. Anyway, they're proposing to do a temporary turnaround now to allow emergency vehicles and so forth to be able to turn around. But the intention is that this 2000 South would extend in the future over to 2350 East and make that connection.
Okay, any questions on this one, council? Ready for a motion then on this final plat?
I would move that we approve the final plat for Crimson Shadows subdivision. Item 14.
Second.
Motion by Joe with a second by Jimmy. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, item 15 is request to consider approval of a 12-unit residential subdivision final plat called the Lofts at Green Valley Phase 2. Representative is Corner Point. Property is located at 1790 West Street, Plantations Drive, in the Green Valley Development Zone is PDR. All aspects of this final plat reviewed by staff and meets the conditions of preliminary plat. So if you look right here on the vicinity map, here's Plantations Drive right there. Let's see, this is Canyon View right there. Anyways, it's we've already approved this phase 1 right here. This is phase 2. The only item on this is a public road, 1790 West, from Plantations up to this area here. It's dedicated as public to there and there. And these are common streets to the Lofts. We're just requesting an easement for Worldmark and Trend West Development and the View to grant an easement across that so that they can have access to another public street as part of their projects. And they've agreed to do that.
That's already in the works?
The easement?
The easement across there?
Yeah, so as before they dedicate this final plat or record this final plat, we've requested that they just grant an easement at the same time for Worldmark, Trend West, and for the View, and they've agreed to do that.
Thank you.
So we'd want you to include that in your motion.
Right.
Yep. Ready for motion? Put that in your motion.
So moved with that in the motion.
All right, we have a motion by Betty. It's a non-emotional motion. Second was by Michelle. Any discussion?
You got that, Christina, with the easement?
I just couldn't remember it all.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Do you dare go to 16?
Okay, item 16 is a request to consider a subdivision of 1 lot into 2 lots. This subdivision is at the Bundy Lane. Representative is Pope Engineering. Property is located at approximately 1235 East and 1580 South along Bundy Lane. Zone is R110. So this is the lot right now, and there's a existing home right now here. I believe it's Marjorie Bundy Holt's house. Anyway, so that's the lot. Their proposal is to subdivide this lot into 2 lots. The zone is R110, so they'll be required to meet the zoning there, and also all the setbacks, and they've showed that they can provide that. This is kind of just giving you a demonstration of what a home could be built on that lot and still meet the setbacks. They do own this property back here. It's a separate parcel, so they are going, right now there's an easement that runs right here and back to this lot. We've requested that they provide at least a 25-foot easement to get back to that, which kind of would meet the flag or the stem part of a flag lot. So they'll be increasing their easement from here to here for access to that back lot, and it'll just be on that lot right there. And so,
Still meet the side yard setback?
yeah, it will. Yeah. And then this other is just a drainage easement for the city that takes drainage from St. James down to the Virgin River.
Jimmy, is this another one of your Bundy relatives?
Yep.
No, they're my buddy friends.
Yep.
Any questions?
To approve the
Second.
Yeah.
Oh, third it.
All right. We have a motion by Michelle to approve this subdivision of 10 lots or less, as it has been explained by Michelle, second by Jimmy. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, item 17 is a request to consider approval of a preliminary plat for a two-lot commercial subdivision called Estrella Commercial. Site is located at the southwest corner of the intersection of Dixie Downs Road and Snow Canyon Parkway. The property is 4.12 acres. The zoning is PDC. A general plan shows this is commercial, representative of civil science. So basically, they want to take this lot and create two commercial lots out of this one lot right here. Really, the big one on this one is this right here was dedicated with the Estrella development as a private street for the Estrella development with public access. A little bit strange. They came in and said, hey, we want this shut off. We don't want them using our private street to get access to their parcel. We told them we weren't going to do that because this was always intended. It was constructed that way to provide access to this. So we've looked at the possibility, and I need to meet with them about changing the dedication on this and making it a public street right through here, as it'll serve both them and the Estrella development. That way they wouldn't be responsible to own and maintain that. It would fall to the city.
Is that a private street now?
It is a private street. When Estrella was dedicated, it was dedicated as a private street, but it had a little note on there that said, but it's for public use. And so...
Well, the homeowners would be smart to have us take it over.
Right. And where it serves both developments, both this commercial project now and this PD residential development, we felt like that was probably an acceptable solution.
Is there any restriction on Dixie Drive on access?
So the access they'll get will be right here that will line up with the access that was proposed for that potential Hertz right there.
So there, but is Dixie Drive, or not Dixie Drive, Snow Canyon Parkway, can they have any access off the gate?
The only one we could look at possibly doing is a right-in, right-out there, because usually those require about 500 to 600 feet between full accesses. And so we could look at that.
Right in, right out with an acceleration lane.
And they will be providing a decel lane here to come into this as part of their project when they develop it. Yeah.
So it doesn't matter anyway. Yeah.
But
yeah, questions? Any other questions? Otherwise,
I move that we approve the preliminary plat for Australia Commercial 2 for a two-lot commercial subdivision.
Second.
motion by Joe with a second by Ed. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
okay, item 18 is a request to approve a preliminary plat for a 15-lot residential subdivision called Johnson Arch at the Ledges Phase 1. The site is located approximately 1,300 west and 5,200 north in the Ledges development. Density is 1.35 dwelling units an acre. Zone is PDR. This, again, it's part of the Ledges development. Representative is Logan Blake. As you recall, this is Winchester Hills right here. When they came in a while back and amended their overall plan, zoning master plan, it was approved subject to a 50-foot setback off of this property line for a rear setback against Winchester Hills. So they'll be required to have that 50-foot setback from their property line to their main dwelling structure. This right here, they're going to leave open. The intention here is it's 2.71 acres. They would like to dedicate this area to the city as a park. So Parks has agreed that they would take this as a park. The question now becomes when it gets built. They would obviously like it built within the next year or two. And so we're still kind of going through that process.
Question on that setback, is it 50 feet to the dwelling?
I looked in the Planning Commission minutes, and it did say that Planning Commission recommended 50 feet from the property line to the main dwelling structure. And
So they could still build in that 50 feet? I mean, have landscaping and so forth?
Detached garage.
Yeah, right. I believe that was the intention. I believe the intention was that the setback would more or less mirror or match what Winchester has done with their property. And so I think that's what was agreed upon was, hey, their setback approximately 50 feet. we'll push ours back 50 feet. If you recall, this was a 200-foot kind of
Yeah.
no man's area before, and that was kind of the compromise there. Okay.
Any other questions?
Motion to approve the preliminary plat for Johnson, yeah.
Johnson Arch.
How come that's so hard to say? Johnson Arch at the Ledges Phase 1.
Motion by Jimmy, second by Michelle. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. I don't have any appointments. Do we have a need for a closed meeting? Oh, I'm glad. Any reports? I'm hoping minimal, because you never know what could happen if we stay any longer. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Joe and a second by Michelle to adjourn. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned. Any questions about marathon stuff? Everybody knows when